Then Director Moon Young-jun of our
진행하는데요.
Koti SOC
두
Center
번째
will lead
세션은
the
그
second
발제가
session.
하나이기 때문에 패널분이 좀 많습니다. 그 6분의 패널분을 저희가 모셨는데요. 호주의 내 앞에 앤드류 본부장님, 그리고 얼티코의 매니저이신 타마라 듀킥 선생님, 그리고
Senior Manager Tamara Dukic from Erdico,
김재열
Assistant
선생님,
Manager
그리고 LG
Kim Jae from Fujitsu Limited, Vice President Benjamin Yu from LG CNS, CEO Choi Jong-yoon from UDI, and last but not least, Research Associate Son Sang-hoon from Jeju Research Institute.
저희가 이제 그 6회차까지 진행을 해왔는데
So this is
이전보다는 상당히
our sixth meeting,
구체적인
like I mentioned.
내용들을
Things
가지고
are getting a little
국제
bit
포럼을
more
진행하게 됐습니다.
concrete.
제가 조금 전에 말씀드린
So
바와
as I
같이
mentioned,
국가 차원에서
from
자율적
a country
모빌리티와
perspective,
관련된 전략을 수립을 하고 그
giving
전략을 또 어떻게
mobility
그각
strategy is
지역
one
단위
thing, but
그리고 또
spreading
기업의
that
발전
to
전략하고 이렇게
local
연결시킬 수 있을지
governments
관련된 그런
and
내용도 말씀드릴
taking
수가
that to
있고
other
그리고 이제
companies
일본도
are
그래서
another
레벨
thing. So
4 수준의
already
자율주행을
Japan
어떻게
is
좀
doing their
좀
level
모빌리티
4
서비스로
approach,
연결시켜서 할 수 있는지 그 내용을
and again,
발표를 합니다.
we will hear
마찬가지로
from
이제
Japan cases.
스마트 모빌리티라는 게 결국은 이제
So then smart mobility
자율주행과 또 수요 응답형 서비스 이런 것들하고
relates
연결되어서
with
진행되어야 할
autonomous
텐데요.
driving
그런
and
내용도
on-demand
스마트 시티와 함께
services.
현재
So all
테스트하고
that will
있는
be
리빙 랩으로 테스트하고 있는
covered
상황이기 때문에
like
그런 내용도
we're
함께
testing it with
우리가
the
오늘
living lab,
내용들을 듣고 또
and we will be
전문가들의
able to
전망과
hear from
향후
all
발전 방향에 대해서 또
these presentation
공유할 수 있을
and
것
then
같습니다.
talk about where we are going, where
여전히
we
이
are
마이크를
headed
쓰고
right now.
말하는 건 힘드네요.
So again, it is
그래서
very tiring to talk through the
이번
mask, but
주부터는
still,
실외에서는
starting this year,
마스크를
we
벗고
are
다닐 수 있게
now
돼서
free of
저도
masks
제주도 내려와서
outside. So
여기
me,
바로 뒤가
myself,
그 제주
also in
올레
Jeju,
코스인데요.
there's a walking
아주
course called
풍광이
Ole course,
좋은
and
코스입니다. 이게
actually it was a very
뭐죠?
pleasant
두상젤리도
experience.
보이고
I was able to see the
마치시고
famous
또
Jeju
이렇게
cliffs,
제주 올레 8코스 잠깐이라도 좀
and I walked the
들으시면
number
좋을 것
8th
같습니다.
Ole course. So please follow me and have the experience.
저기 아까 제가 듣기로는 그 온라인 계정에 조금 문제가 있는 것 같습니다.
So I believe there's
한
a
계정으로
technical
여러
issue with the
회의를 개최를
online
하고 또 여러 참석자가
account. So actually, many of us are using the same account. So maybe there is a little bit of issue there. So I don't know if everything is settled right now.
그리고 뭐
Actually, let me continue a little bit. So yesterday, former Director General Ban Ki-moon was with us, and he talked about how transition to EVs will be able to handle the climate crisis and climate change, and that is a critical factor, a key to overcome all our challenges. So that is what he mentioned yesterday. And actually, when we look back our presidential election from both parties, they had these kind of talks regarding UAM, which is urban mobility. So we had those discussions as well. So actually, when it comes to UAM, I think it'll take a lot of time for the UAMs to actually replace, say, the taxi to take people in that. So what UAM technologies will bring in the future, and from an economic point of view also. So if we can overcome all of these things, then we can connect the UAM and autonomous driving as well. So maybe that will be our future. So in short, so Jeju, of course, will be able to do that. So floating objects, if there is, so we have a very crowded city, and I wonder how people will get that idea of floating objects inside the crowded city. But when I visit US, I see helicopter tourisms. So rather than UAM, I want to focus the TAM, tourism air mobility. Maybe that's more viable in the future. Maybe that's what I think. So in the nearer future than UAM, because when there's a floating objects going from a tourist point 1 to tourist point 2, actually the scenery will be very beautiful. So moving itself can be tourism and the time will be much shorter. So actually the tourism will be much more effective. And installing the UAM port, like a heliport, if it's not a very crowded area and it's a remote tourist location, then it will be much easier for the air vehicle to land and then take off. Of course, for that, the users would have to accept the unmanned vehicles for TAM. And there should be a mobility for the users to go to that UAM port or TAM port. So that is again a connectivity issue. Then if everything is done, then we would be able to satisfy the new users, and that'll be a new mobility. So that might be done in Jeju province or Gangwon province, the places where tourism is very important in this area. So then maybe we can have another living lab of this technology. So that is my thoughts. And again, we will be having a new government very soon, and they are quite pushing hard these technologies, these test beds. So from the mobility industry, I hope you have many ideas to share and have various kinds of test bed locally so that we can have a successful technological advance. So given that, I believe that autonomous mobility fits very well to these new technologies as well.
예.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let us begin the 6th International Forum on Electric and Automated Mobility. Today, we are going to have welcoming, congratulatory, and opening remarks, followed by Session 1 and Session 2. My name is Kim Young-guk from the Korea Transport Institute. Great to meet you all. First of all, I would like to invite President Oh Jae-hak of my organization to open the forum.
예, 여러분 반갑습니다.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are sorry for the slight delay, but we finally opened the forum. My name is Oh Jae-hak, President of the Korean Transport Institute. Welcome to the 6th International Forum on Electric and Automated Mobility, hosted by my organization, that is Korea Transport Institute. In particular, I would like to thank Chairman Kim Dae-hwan of a Global EV Association Network and the chairman of the 9th International EV Expo. He's extremely busy, but I would like to make my congratulations on his wonderful and successful hosting of the event. This is the 9th event of the EV Expo, and I have a great programs with full of youngsters and university students, and that was quite impressive to me. Once again, congratulations on Chairman Tae-hwan Kim for the successful hosting of the 9th International EV Expo. Also, we have a president of a Korea Institute of Intelligent Transport Systems with his remarks later on via video. Thank you very much. And I want to recognize all the Korean and international participants for their presence and participation and wonderful discussion in advance. We have offline and on-site visitors here. Not too many, however, we will have a great number of online viewers as well. We are still going through the difficulties amid COVID-19. Hopefully next year we will have more offline guests on site. In particular, it was extremely hard to invite all these international speakers. We have about 6 speakers and panel discussants from overseas through Zoom. From Japan, we have Professor Watabe Daishi. From Saitama Institute of Technology, I thank you. And we also have officials from RTCO, ITS China, and New South Wales. And we have wonderful guests from all over the world. And Miss Fujitsu. And we also have some Korean speakers and participants. Thank you very much. So the International EV Expo has been the 9th time, and we also have the 6th forum this year, which means that we have had some expertise to host the forum, but still we have some shortcomings, and we apologize in advance, and hopefully we can improve more as time goes by. The topic today is how to introduce EV and autonomous vehicles, and in smart cities, how to realize such a autonomy with the EVs, and that's very important. And it's a broad topic. So I am sure speakers and panel discussants will cover a variety of items and a range of issues. As we introduce the EV in our daily lives, we now have an issue of how to realize a genuine smart mobility in smart cities. And that's the topic that we will continue discussing in the future. Those who are here today and watching online may wonder what will look like in our future smart cities with a smart mobility. I am sure you have a great curiosity of that. As the MC mentioned, we have about over 25 million cars registered in South Korea, and including hybrid, we have a little more, but we have about 230,000 EV in Korea. It's only about 1% of the total registered vehicles, but it is rapidly penetrated. And between 2022 and 2030, we have about 8 years. EV, autonomous vehicles, and future mobility will have a great transition between now and 2030, and I'm sure we can realize a lot. For about 5 years, almost 10 years, we had great discussions in my institute, and especially with Dr. Moon Young-jun, and he's the head of the center of our institute. And this is my conclusion. EV, autonomous vehicles, shared cars, connected cars, and all types of future cars and the concept of mobility will be integrated on some sort of a platform, and it will become a new format of mobility. What does that mean? Shared car, EV, and autonomous vehicle will evolve together. They are not going to separately evolve. They will somehow offset of each other's shortcomings, and it will become the genuine mobility service that the consumers will be happy with. And one of the important part is that it is not all to make good cars. If you think of logistics, distribution, national distribution, and transportation, these are intertwined to each other. So in terms of users' convenience, and we need to create a decent ecosystem. We need to enhance the value of using some sort of services and products. That way, we can continue improving the values of what we research. That is why creating a decent ecosystem is important. To do so, we have to fully support from technology development to policy making. Sorry again for the 20-minute delay. To start with, we have a slight technical issues, but by overcoming these technical issues, we get to meet our colleagues from Japan, Australia, China, and all over the world, and I hope to share more insights and our expertise to each other. So through discussions, I hope to have a fruitful result, which are also useful and fun. Once again, please allow me to welcome all of you, the 6th International Forum on Electric Vehicle and Automated Mobility, as a part of the 9th International EV Expo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Oh. You talked about the future mobility. Thank you very much. Next, we will hear a congratulatory message from Chairman Kim Dae-hwan of Global EV Association Network, and again, Chairman of IEVE. Please welcome Chairman Kim Dae-hwan with a big round of applause. So good afternoon. I was quick to come here. So I've heard from President Oh Jae-hak, and I very much respect him. But he actually said everything about our forum in his short message, so my respect towards him. So we're here at Jeju, but from here we will make use cases to lead the world. So actually, I invited President Oh to the E-Valley Forum and Chief Director Kim, and I invited many distinguished guests. So for Jeju to supply global references, then we will be able to go to the global market. And actually that started 9 years ago. And in the center of that, for 6 consecutive years, we are having this International Forum on Electric and Automated Mobility. And even though we were going through the COVID, they actually risked their lives to come all the way to Jeju. So President of Korea Nuclear Power, and one more, President Oh Jae-hak, I really appreciate him for that. So about our steps. Were they meaningful or not? So let's look
카본프리
back.
아일랜드 제주 2030
The CFI carbon-free
우리가
island
외친 게
Jeju 2030
어제 그저께 5월 2일 날
was
딱
as
10주년입니다.
of May
비전
2nd,
선포하고.
we celebrated the
그게
10th anniversary of
우리가
CFI
김태환
2030.
지사님 있을 때,
So it
또
was back then
우금민
when
지사님 있을
we had
때,
Governor Kim
우리 원
Jae-hwan
지사님 있을 때
and then
3대가 이
two
기조를
other
계속하고 있습니다.
governors
제가
kept
오재학 원장님
that.
존경하는 게
So,
지금 6회째입니다.
Like I said, I
자유주행입니다.
have
오재학
much respect to
원장님부터
President
시작한 게
Ojehak. It's
아닙니다.
been
그런데도
6 years
더
already.
고도화를 시켜가고 계세요.
And
그러면서
still,
한 발 더
he
나가셔서
is taking everything to the
제주도에서만
next
하지
level.
말고
And then you were talking about
이
why
시도를
only Jeju?
세종시로 옮겼는데
Because we
세종시의
are now,
복지 도비가
the government is in Seoul
엄청나게
and
많이
in Sejong
투자하는
City.
자율주행이나
But in
스마트
Sejong,
시티를
we may start
만들어 봐야 되는데
a smart
엄청난
city
에너지를
there.
투자를 했는데
And
그 결과가 잘 안
actually,
나타난다.
we put in a lot of energy, but the results are
꼭 5월
not
달에는
yet
제주에서
showing.
하지만
So
하반기에는
he talked about we're doing this expo in May in Jeju,
세종시에서
but
하면 어떻겠냐.
maybe
이렇게
we can do
추진하신 게
this expo
벌써
at the
횟수로는
second half
벌써
of
한
the
4년이
year
됐죠.
in
네.
Sejong City as well. It's been
그래서
like
올해는
4 years already.
우리가 합을 맞춰서
So
올
this year,
하반기에는 꼭
At the
2박
second half of the
3일짜리라도
years,
세미류라도 하자. 이렇게
maybe we can do
결의를
a
했습니다.
semi-forum, like a 2 nights and 3
그래서
days
여러분
in
저도
Sejong, maybe.
기대되고
And
의장
I look
원장님
forward very much for that.
감사하다는
And again,
말씀을
I want to
또
thank President
앞으로
Oh Jae-han again.
이것이 어디까지 진행이 될 건지
And again, we
저희들도
still don't
솔직히
know where
궁금합니다.
we will
오늘 이 자리가
be headed
저
in the future.
미비한 것 같아도
So
지금
this place might not
동시 섹션으로
seem enough, but still,
여기
we are
ICC에
having
방이 한
cumulative
10개
sessions.
있습니다.
We have about 10 years
10개
in
방이
ICC
하나도
Jeju
없어요.
here.
다 100%
Every
찼고
room is full.
여기에서만 못하고 부영 호텔도
And
6개 방켓
we
룸을
are
잘라가지고
also
거기도
using
풀로
6 more banquet halls in
이것도
Buyong
모자라서
Hotel just next to the ICC.
조선
More than
호텔에도
that,
10개를 논하드리고
We are having 10 other rooms in another hotel. And this
정보화진흥원에서도
peace,
지금 하고
peace
있습니다.
center, and
혁신도시에서.
even in the
이런
government
일들이
institutions, they
우리
are
한국
doing
교통연구원의
consecutive
회원님께서 함께하지
sessions as well.
않으셨다면
So if it were not for our families, nothing of this would have been possible.
오늘 회밀이들께
So
감사
again,
인사드리는
this is my
이유이고요.
thanks
또
to
뒤에
our
우리
families.
김철수 교수님도 와 계신
And
것
we are
같은데
joined by Professor Kim
올해
Chol-soo today.
처음으로 또 자율주행
So
대학생
first,
경진대회를 제주화에서
this
하자고
year,
하실 때
we are doing
저희도
university
걱정했습니다. 코로나
autonomous
때문에
vehicle
저희들도
challenge in Jeju. So
시청돼서
we were actually
견디기가
questioning this
쉽지
because of
않은데
COVID-19.
그러면 몇 개
It's even hard for
대학이나
us. But
하시겠습니까?
so we were
했더니
thinking, how
한
many
10개 대학
universities will
정도가
be coming?
모여서 하시겠다고
But he
해서
says 10
그런
universities will be
꿈나무들한테
coming.
우리가 기회를 주는 게
So
우리의
giving an
의무라고
opportunity
생각해서
to
그렇게
these
한번
growing
해보시죠
talents
했는데
was a
27개
most important thing.
대학에
But
114팀이
actually,
온 겁니다.
27 universities
이게
and
자율주행이라는 게
114
이렇게
teams have
진화가 되고
joined.
있고요.
So
우리
this is quite an
꿈나무들한테 희망을
evolution
주고 있다는
of
거죠.
autonomous
예,
driving.
그래서
We are
여러분들께
giving
다시
the dreams
한번
to
감사를
new
드리고
talents. So again, I
또
want to
지금
thank you all.
동시에 섹션에
And
전기
with the
선박
simultaneous session,
섹션이
we
하고
also
있는데
had
거기서도
an e-vessel,
자율주행이 아니라
e-ship session. They're not talking about
자율운항으로 지금
the
핫하게
autonomous
움직이고
driving. They
있습니다.
are talking about autonomous
이런 것들이
operating
어떤
of
걸
the whole
의미할
vessel.
건지는
So
여기 계신 분들이 더 잘
I'm
아실
sure
거고
you all know what
매년
it actually
꽃피는
means.
5월에 만여
So
명의
every
오피니언
year
리더들이
we are joined by
섹션에
10,000
표준
opinion
토론이든
leaders here
자율주행이든
in Jeju,
전기차든
in many
UAM이든
forums, in
우리가
EVs,
어떤
in
핑계를 가지고
UAE forum.
우리 한번 꽃피는 5월에
So
제주에서
actually, this
만나서
let's
어깨
make this as
동무도
an
하고
excuse
폭탄주도
for
마시고
to gather, to have a
힐링하면서
drink in Jeju,
우리
to have
미래
fun in
꿈나무들을
Jeju,
위해서 우리가 뭔가를
and
하나씩
talk about what
만들어가자.
we can give
이렇게
to the
얘기한
next
지가
generation.
9년째입니다.
And it's been 9
그래서
years.
그런 것들이 쌓여서 오늘
So,
이렇게 이루어지는
and
부분들이기 때문에
All these things piled
원장님
together.
다시
Now we are
감사드리고
here
우리
again. I
김영국
want to thank you,
본부장님 영국에 가 있을 때도 항상
President Oh
응원해 주시고
Jae-hak and
문영준
President Young
단장님이나
and
김기욱
President
센터장님이나
Director Moon Young-jung
다시 한번
and
감사드립니다.
Director
제가
Kim
내일은
Tae-hyung. I want to thank
오재학
everyone.
원장님께 폭탄주 3잔 드리기로 했습니다.
And tomorrow
고맙습니다.
I will give 3 shots
감사합니다.
to President Oh Jae-han. Thank you very much for listening.
예, 따뜻한 환영사해 주신 김대환 위원장 다시 한번
Thank
뜨거운
you,
모습
Chairman Kim,
드리겠습니다.
again for
예,
wonderful
그리고
welcoming remarks.
그 마지막으로 이제 축사가 남았습니다.
Last but not least, we have a
한국 IT에서
congratulatory remarks from the
대학교
President
교수님이신
이상수
이상수 회장님의
of
축사를
Korea ITS.
영상으로
And we would
제가
like to
함께
watch
듣도록 하겠습니다.
his video.
안녕하십니까. 2022년
Hello
한국
everyone.
ITS
I
학회
am the
회장을 맡고
president
있는
of the Korea
이상수입니다.
Institute of the
올해
Intelligent
청정한
Transport
제주에서
System
개최되는
2022. My name is
제9회
이상수.
국제 전기
This year
자동차
on the clean
엑스포와
island Jeju
이와
called
함께 열리는
Island called
제6회
Jeju, we are
전기차
participating in the
자율주행차 국제
international
포럼 행사를
EV
진심으로
Expo as
축하드립니다.
well as the 6th
이러한
International
뜻깊은
Forum on
행사를
Electric and
준비하시느라
Automated
애쓰신
Mobility.
오재학
I
원장님을
congratulate
포함한
on the
많은
event.
관계자
This
여러분의
wonderful
노고에
event wouldn't be
깊은
possible
감사의
without the great
말씀드립니다.
support by President Oh
최근에
Jae-hak of the Korea
산업계에서
Transport
가장 많이
Institute. I
언급되는
thank
단어를
you.
꼽는다면
Recently, industries
전기차와
mentioned one
자율주행차가
particular
아닐까
word, the
생각합니다.
most called
전기차와
electric vehicle and
자율주행차는
autonomous vehicle.
미래차 시대의
They are
궁극적인
the
모습을
symbol to
표현하는
illustrate the
상징적인 단어가
ultimate
되었고
future of
전 세계
vehicles.
각국이
All the
이러한
countries
미래차
are adjusting
시장의
themselves to
시장
the new
환경에
market
적응하고
environment.
또한 시장을 선점하기
To
위해서
secure the market
뜨겁게
position,
경쟁하고 있는
they are
분야입니다.
passionately competing against
여러분도
each
아시는 바와
other.
같이
That is why
국내
EV
친환경에
and autonomous
대한
vehicles are all
관심과
about.
정부의
As you are
2050
well aware,
탄소
anything
중립 추진
eco-friendly
전략에
gains a
따라
great attention in
최근에
Korea,
가장
along with the government's
급격하게 성장한
2050 carbon
분야가
neutrality declaration.
전기차이고
One of the areas that grows the
향후에는
fastest
미래
is the
산업 구조를
EV
개발할
industry,
핵심
which is the
분야라고
future,
평가받고 있습니다.
which in the future
국내
will
전기차
restructure
등록
the
대수는
future industry
올해
landscape.
23만 대이고
The number of the registered vehicles
25년까지
in Korea
110만
is
대를 달성하는
about
것이 정부의 목표입니다.
230,000
그리고
units
이러한
this year, and by
목표는 충분히 달성할
2025, the
것으로
number will be
전망하고
expected
있습니다.
to be 1.1 million for
또한
the electric
정부에서는
vehicle. That's the government's goal, which is likely to be
22년도에
easily realized.
레벨 3의
Also, the government plans to
자율주행차를
introduce level 3
출시하고
of autonomous vehicles in
27년에는
2021
레벨
and realize
4의
level 4
자율주행차 상용을 목표로 해서
commercialization by
다양한 제도적인
2027.
정책적
Accordingly, various policy
지원을
supports
계획하고
are ready
있습니다.
to be provided.
이러한 시대적으로
In this time when
큰
EV
관심이
is on the
집중된
spotlight,
핫한 주제에
this will
관해서
be a leading
선도적으로
opportunity
논의하는
as an international
본
forum,
국제
which is
포럼은 매우 큰
furthermore
의미를
meaningful.
갖고 미래 전기차
Future
및
electric vehicles and
자율주행차
autonomous
상용화를 위한
commercializations
중요한
will
역할을 할
play a
것으로
pivotal
기대합니다.
role at this
오늘
forum.
포럼에서는
At today's forum,
자율주행과
autonomous
스마트
driving
모빌리티
and
추진
smart
전략에 대한
mobility will be
발표와
discussed
토론이
through various
이루어지는 것으로
presentations
압니다.
and panel
오늘
discussions.
발표는 완성이 아닌
These are not the final
시작점이라고
version.
생각을
Rather,
하고
it is the beginning of our
향후에는
commitment. In
충전
the future,
속도라든지
the charging
충전소
speed, the
입지와
charging
같은
location,
기술적인 문제점을
and
포함한
other
다양한
technological
논의도
issues will also
이루어져서 전기차
draw
및
more
자율주행차를
discussion,
선도하는
which will make
국내
this
대표적인
forum one of
포럼이
the
될
most
것을
major
기대합니다.
forums in the field of EV
다시
and
한번 오늘
autonomous
뜻깊은
vehicle.
행사에
Once
축하를
again, I'd like to
드리며
congratulate
또한
on
본
this
포럼에
forum. I wish
참석하신
all the
모든
participants
분들의
at the forum
건강을
to stay healthy.
기원드리며
To
인사를
wrap up my
마치겠습니다.
remarks.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
예, 고맙습니다. 자리에 계시지 않지만 이상수 ITS
Thank you very
학회장님께
much.
큰 감사를 드립니다. 본 국제 포럼은 한년
So,
동시
this
통역으로
forum
진행되고 있습니다. 발표자와
is supporting
토론자분들께서는
you
편하신
with
언어를 선택하셔서
simultaneous
사용하시면 되겠습니다.
interpretation. So be
첫
free,
번째
feel
세션을
free
시작하도록
to
하겠습니다.
speak
첫 번째 세션은
whether in English
자율주행
or
모빌리티
Korean.
정책 도입
So
전략이라는
we'll go to
주제로
our first
첫
presentation.
번째 김기호 센터장님께서 한국의 자율주행
Dr.
교통물류
Kyo
기획
Kim will
계획을
talk about
발표해
the
주겠습니다.
National
앞으로
Master
보겠습니다.
Plan for Automated Transport and Logistics in Korea. Please give him a big round of applause.
반갑습니다. 한국교통연구원에
So good
근무하는
afternoon.
김기욱입니다.
My name is Kim Gyo.
오늘
I'm from
이렇게
the Korea
뜻깊은
Transport
자리에서
Institute.
정부가
It's such a meaningful day
준비한
here
자율주행
to
자율주행
look
교통물류
upon
기본계획을
the
소개하게 된 것을
master
영광으로
plan of
생각합니다.
logistics Korea.
자율주행 교통물류 기본계획은
So the National
국토교통부가
Master
준비한
Plan
첫 번째
was
법정
the
계획입니다.
first
그리고
governmental
발표를
plan.
정부 합동으로
And the
하였습니다.
announcement was
오늘은
done
그 주요한
with the
내용에
government as
대해서
well. So
설명드리도록
today I will
하겠습니다.
briefly talk about what it
자율주행
means.
교통물류 기본계획은 크게 2027년
So
자율주행 자동차
it aims at
레벨
2027
4의
and
상용화를
to
위한
commercialize
그런
level
추진
4
계획입니다.
autonomous driving cars.
목표를 실현하기 위해서
And for
그
this,
정부 부처에서는
Many governmental
기술
bodies are
개발,
working
그리고,
together to
서비스의
develop
실증,
technologies
제도
and
개선
to
부분을
know
추진을 하고
about
있습니다.
what service is needed.
화면이 넘어가지 않네요.
I'm not sure if I am doing this right about the slide. Next, please.
네. 그래서 이 자율주행 교통물류 기본 계획은
So this is the master plan.
2021년에서 2025년까지
So
정부가 추진해야
from
할
2021 to
추진
2025, this talks about what the government has to do and giving a blueprint of that. So the basic plan is how to push the commercialization of the autonomous driving cars. So the main part of it is to make an ecosystem and to develop service for that, and to make related infras and secure safety, and finally to make an ecosystem. So, as you know, the speed of technology changes very fast, and the most important thing is that we are going into an aging society. So if the population is aging, there is more risk of accidents, and we can use autonomous vehicles and do service for them. So the speed of technology development is faster than what we were thinking, and the demand for commercialization is very high as well. So the commercialization period will arrive much faster than what we first expected. And of course, legalization will be most important, and the government need a master plan for that. So the visions and goals. By 2025, we will open the era of autonomous driving cars. And for that, of course, we need many preparation. First, we need an industrial ecosystem. And after that, we have to come up with many services. So there will be many points, more than 10 service points in many cities and many areas. So that will be the stepping stone. And for that, we have 17 concrete points for that. So our strategies, we have 5 strategies. So first, developing autonomous services. Number 2, based on that, we have to show the technology to the citizens and make them actually feel that. Number 3, so that the operation of these autonomous vehicles to be possible, we have some backing communication plans. And number 4, the biggest worry is safety. And through that, we will be able to secure the safety of autonomous vehicles and actually show people that this is a safe technology. And finally, number 5, for the autonomous vehicles to be commercialized, we have to make an industry ecosystem. So we have to make a plan, a strategy, and then we have 17 smaller points. So there are 5 strategies and 17 sub-strategies. All these are connected together. So we have to develop services, and these can be done in special regulation-free zones. And we have to have more road infras and show people that it is the safe technologies. And after that, we can make an industrial ecosystem. So, more concrete tasks, 17 programs. I will not go through everything, but I will just explain you what that is. So first, accepting the service of autonomous vehicles. So we will start by passenger cars and to give the Korean people a service that they can accept. So there are many more personalized services here. The most important thing will be public service and car sharing. So that is what we're working on right now with autonomous drivers, autonomous vehicles, and then an automated transportation service for the vulnerables.
차뿐만이 아니고
And more than passenger vehicles, but cargo is also the next thing that we have to provide service. For example, the highways are used by many people, so maybe we can have some more services, some last mile services, so that we can tell people that autonomous vehicles are convenient and help the transportation. And second is the infrastructure service area. So that should be a public service, and we can offer like collecting garbages with the autonomous vehicles, and that is only a part of it. Next, please. And the important thing about the second service is that to make a special zone, a pilot zone, so that people can actually see what autonomous driving is and make needed regulations. So first, we have to designate AV pilot zone. We are now doing 7 zones right now, and we are planning to expand that to 17 zones by 2025. And we have already many data collected. We can utilize that to these data to create new services as well. And what's next? To provide these services, we need to have support from the government to the companies and to everywhere. So that should be pushed by the government. And one more important thing is to securing the safety of these vehicles. We have an AV test bed in KCT, so we want to expand that and take that to the next level. So this is our test bed. So we want to expand that further. So inside this test bed, many companies can come into the test bed and can have conversations. All these facilities will be integrated here, and with that, we will place a stepping stone for a bigger industry. Third important thing is commercializing services and making backup infra for that, and we will make a digital infra roadmap and make a big picture related to that. So designing roads are related to that. We are working on that either. And again, making digital map is important. That lies the basis of the operation of autonomous vehicles. And one more thing, one more important point is that cars and roads should work together to do the operation. We need an infra for that. So we call that a CITS infrastructure that will be also expanded nationwide. And there should be many service platforms. We have to do a feasibility test and question whether that can give the best service to our Korean people. Most important thing, safety, of course. We did a feasibility test, and the concern for safety was the highest concern. So here at number 4, we are securing the safety of autonomous vehicles and testing the performance and make new technologies to secure more safety. And another important factor of safety is security. We have to have security for autonomous vehicles, and autonomous vehicles themselves has very much personal information. So we have to secure that information as well, safeguard that information. And when there's an accident, we have to adapt to that very quickly. And we have to also test whether a car can adapt that quickly. And more than that, AVs are not only run in Korea, but it is run globally. So we have to make safety measures before everyone else. So in WP29, they are doing this proactively, but Korea also needs to work on this international safety harmonization so that we can lead the discussions as well. And for the AVs, to the people to use it safely, we have to do tests all the time. So again, we are working on regulations. And last but not least, we have a global cooperation on technology. So for that, we have to have regulation, testbed, and co-development with other countries. So this is what they are talking about here. And finally, to build an industry ecosystem. For that, we have to foster new talents, and we have to create new jobs related to that, and we have to also polish our regulations. So these are our recommendations. So 5 strategies, 17 programs, and the government again aims at year 2021 to 2025 with this blueprint, and will have policy support. Thank you very much for listening.
네, 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much.
법에 따라서 수립된 제1차 자율주행
We had the first phase
기본계획에
of
관련된
the
내용들을
EV import, and it was a very
들었습니다.
good
두 번째
detail that the
발제자는
presenter provided.
사이타마 인스티튜트
Second,
테크놀로지의
we are going
와타베
to
다이시
listen to the
교수님인데요.
lecture from the
온라인으로 연결이
Professor
되어 있습니까?
Watabe Daishi. Are you here with us?
줌 화면으로 좀 바꿔주시고요.
We would like to have a
와타베
screen
다이시
of him.
교수님께서 발표하실 내용은 포용 사회를 위한 레벨 4 수준의 자율주행 교통 일본의
And
시도
his topic
이런
is the
제목입니다.
highly automated
그러면
transport for inclusive
마이크를
society, an attempt in
와타베 다이시
Japan.
교수님께 넘기도록
I would like
하겠습니다.
to hand over my microphone to Professor Watabe Daishi.
지금 제 목소리가 와타베 다이시 교수님께 전달되고 있을까요? Hello, Professor Watabe Daishi? Are you there? Yes. 지금은 얼티코에서 잘 들린다고 그런 것 같습니다. Please turn on your mic and then say something. 여기 참석하신 분들은 리시버를 사용하시면 지금 들을 수 있습니다.
ジョイスティックカーというのを作りました。ジョイスティックカーというのは高度な障害者の方がジョイスティックを使って運転できるようなシステムでございます。
This is a joystick drive car system. A human operator can drive a car by operating this joystick, left and right, and back and forth directions. Left and right action enables the steering wheel to rotate, and the back and forth direction operation enables the gas pedal and brake pedal in action. You can see this black box in which the electric motors and gears and sensors and magnetic clutches are installed. And if I change the mode from joystick to a manual, this steering wheel and the pedals can be operated by a human driver.
ミクルラフ&オートは前身の日清自動車から約40年以上経つ会社なんですけれども、障害者の運転補助装置の製造仮装販売やっております。埼玉工業大学さんとは要は古い車、電子があまり使われていないステアリングホイールやアクセルペダルブレーキペダルを今の自動運転にするところに魅力を感じてやっています。例えば両手で運転する右手だけ左手だけまだできてはいないですけれども、おそらく足だけでもステアリングを回したり、そして、運転しているドライバーさんの運転の邪魔にならないようなところを特に注意しています。
こういう運転装置を作っていただける方がいるので、もっと皆さんが自由に出かけたり生活が豊かになるという意味では、ぜひ乗ってもらいたいし、もっと普及していったらいいなと私は思っています。
2019年からそのジョイスティックベースの車を自動運転にする仕組みを開発し実験を重ねています。2020年にはそのシステムをいわゆる路線バスの中型バスに実装することができました。現在はそのバスを渋沢栄一論語の里循環バスに特化して総延長28キロのコースなんですけれども、26キロ区間が自動運転というふうな形で約1年間実証実験するという機会をいただいております。
やっぱりその自動運転を進めていく上でより安全に、また全部責任者は運転者にあるので、運転者の方がスムーズにテイクオーバーできるような形のところを一緒に共有してやっていくと思います。
Remote operated bus or shuttle service in which the no human driver in car itself, but some other operator is control the car action from a remote place. This is the second idea of this system.
最近は世界初となる水陸両用バスの自動運転化の開発に取り組んでいます。最初は八ッ場吾妻湖における実証実験を行うんですけれども、湖というのは残念ながらものすごく流木があることがございまして、運行中にプロペラで巻き込んでしまいますとプロペラがやられてしまいますので、そういうのはちゃんと避けなきゃいけないわけです。ところが、流木っていうのはソナーで見ようと思っても水の表面なもんですからなかなかうまく見えない。でかといってカメラで見えるかっていうと乱反射でうまく見えなかったりする。そういうところで、見えないものをどう見えるようにしていくのかとか、全てがチャレンジなんですけれども、夢のある乗り物がこれで実現できればいいなというふうに思っています。
今やってるのは観光のための1台のバスのですね自動運転なんですけれども、私が考えているのはその日本にあるですね、例えば瀬戸内海でも数百という島にですね人が流通するっていうふうな その人の流通の中でも観光じゃなくてですね、物流だとか本当に島の方の足となるようなそういった物流を実現していきたいというふうに考えておりまして、もちろん最終的にはですねこの離島の方々のですね生活の利便性向上といったものがですね目的になっておりまして、年を取った方でもですね、例えば毎日のようにアマゾンの物流がですね人数が少なくても来るような、そんな形にとって生活の利便性、低コストで実現できる、そういったところを狙っていきたいなと思っております。
少しでも早く自動運転社会の実現を目指すような形で努力していきたいと思うところでもございますし、また1人でも2人でもそういうことを考えてくださる方々が最高台の外にも増えてくればいいと思っておりますし、こういう形で学生を教育して1人でも2人でもそういう事実が分かっていただける学生さんが世の中に出ていって、日本を良くしていってくれるというふうなことを期待しているところでございます。
Okay. This is the introduction of Saitama Institute of Technology, self-driving bus. And also, let me change the slide. And we have started developing joystick-based car on 2009, and we deployed this system on 2011, and now approximately 20 handicapped people are using this car every day. And within this experience, we have experienced that these muscle dystrophy and ALS are progressive diseases, and the challenge is to extend the period during which people with disability can drive a car. Similar idea to a gas brake misstep prevention pedal for elderly. But we want to make an additional function to support driving for these cars. And we have developed this system into autonomous driving car, like using microbus and standard bus. And actually, this person also want to. This person is really interested in driving many cars, and he also want to drive this car, but it is not realized. But in the future, we hope people with disability can be an operator or driver of self-driving public transport, aiming SDGs. We have demonstrated many field operational tests in Saitama in 2019, and many people have experienced our field operational tests. And with many enthusiasm, I think we could develop our bus more smoothly, and that can fit in natural transportation. And we have made many other field operational tests in outside Saitama Prefecture and many areas in Japan. And now we have also joined SIP, Strategic Innovation Program, SIP ADAS. This is a slightly short video, but this is a national program
令和2年6月5日から羽田空港第3ターミナルビルと羽田空港跡地第1ゾーンを結ぶ公道の実環境下において磁気マーカー ITS 無線路測器を活用した公共車両優先システム信号情報提供 高精度3次元地図などを利用した実証実験が開始されています。
infrastructures and
東京臨海部実証実験に参加する埼玉工業大学の実証実験への取り組みを取材しました。
埼玉工業大学の自動運転の取り組みです。去年度、埼玉県の補助金を受けましてバスを後付けで自動運転にするキットの開発を開始しました。既存のバスにいくつかのセンサー類を取り付けることによって自動運転にするような仕組みが普及できれば、場合によっては高齢ドライバーの方々がより長い間ドライバーでいられるかもしれないし、運転負荷が小さければ新しいドライバーさんも入ってくるかもしれない。そうすることによってドライバー不足の問題も解決できるかもしれないと思いまして、新しいバスでどんどんそういう機能がついたものが販売されればもちろんいいんですけれども、バスってそもそもライフサイクルが長いもんですから、そういう意味では今あるものにちょこちょこっとお金を払って追加できて安全の機能が上がるようなそういうようなものがあればきっと使ってくれる人がいるだろうと思って始めた開発でございます。すでにですね9カ所の実証実験に参加しておりまして、本番走行で640キロぐらい走っていて、それで2400人ぐらいの市民の方に乗って。
This is one example of our field operational test on SIP, and this is our national plan for promoting self-driving cars. And many experiments are performed, and we have experienced that correct arrival control of standard deviation 2.6 millimeter at this test. And now we have another experiment at Shibusawa H Rongo-no-Sato circulation bus. Shibusawa H will be the face of 10,000 yen note from 2024, and NHK historical drama, Taiga drama of financial year 2021 was about H. Shibusawa, and the founder of Japanese capitalism. And he grew up in Fukaya, Saitama, where Saitama Institute of Technology is located. There are many H. Shibusawa related monuments and museums in Fukaya. This circulation bus runs through H. Shibusawa related places, and this road is about 28 kilometers, 11 bus stops, and it runs 2021 to 2022, January 10th. And to ride this bus, you need to buy a ticket, and all you can ride 500 yen for adult, and for children 250 yen. And this bus, these self-driving buses run 100 days and approximately 10,000 kilometers of self-driving commercial operations, and the maximum speed was 60 kilometers per hour. And we hope that someday, sorry, this is also another promotion video of the
面白町からやってまいりました。そう、
circulation bus.
よろしくお願いします。お願いします。
今回2人にリポートしてもらうのは深谷市内を運行する渋沢栄一論語の里循環バス。旧渋沢邸の中地をはじめ深谷市内に点在する渋沢栄一ゆかりの地を巡る期間限定の循環バスです。
この渋沢栄一論語の里循環バスなんですけども、バス自体にものすごい機能がついてるんですよ。
知ってますよ。俺ちゃんと調べてきてます。
調べてきました？
なんとこのバス、食べれます。
ない。
あ、すみません、それ僕の実家でして。
そんなわけない。
ごめんなさい。
このバス、なんと自動運転で動いてるんです。
そう、このバスには自動運転システムが搭載されており、レーダーやカメラで道路状況を認識し、特定の区間運転操作を自動で行います。 開発した深谷市の埼玉工業大学は自動運転技術の研究開発に力を入れており、実用化に向けて多くの実証実験に取り組んでいます。
渋沢は諸外国のさまざまな先進的な技術を導入し事業化していったというような経緯がある英雄であるわけですけれども、その英雄を学ぶような巡回バスにおいてこの先進技術を導入する、そういう機会をいただけたことに非常に感謝しています。自動運転の普及っていうのは交通文化をどういうふうにみんなで考えていくのかっていうところが一番大きいと思っていますので、一緒に考えていただけるような方々が1人でも2人でも増えてくると心強いなというふうに思っています。
渋沢栄一ゆかりの場所を巡りながら最新の自動運転技術も体験できますので、渋沢栄一論語の里循環バス乗りに来てください。はい、よろしくお願いします。お願いします。
Many presentations are Japanese, I'm sorry, but in any event, so we have made many field operational tests in various places, and last financial year, we have operated something 12,000 kilometers of field operational tests. And in some day, we hope to deploy level 4 public transport, given that Japanese government are planning to make level 4 rule. Anyway, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to everyone who gave us the opportunity to conduct a demonstration experiment, and thanks for everyone for giving me a chance to talk in this occasion. Thank you.
네, 고맙습니다. 사이타마 인스티튜트 테크놀로지의 다이시 와타베 교수님의 일본 사례 소개가 됐습니다. 뭐 한번 박수 한번 쳐드리면 좋을 것 같습니다. 예. 자, 그러면은 이제 그 토론 시간인데요. 지금 현장에 참여하고 계신 우리 김용호 본부장님을 비롯한 제 1부의 토론을 맡으신 분들은 앞으로 나와주시기 바랍니다.
Chairman Kim Young-ho, please join us at the front of the stage. Thank you very much.
예, 그리고 온라인으로 참여하고 계시는 분들은 온라인으로 준비를 해주시면은 저희 자장을 맡으신 김용호 본부장님의 그 안내에 따라서 발언해 주시면 되겠습니다. 고맙습니다. 그럼 이제 마이크를 김용호 본부장님께 넘기도록 하겠습니다.
네, 김용욱 박사님 감사합니다.
Thank you very much.
예, 이번 세션에서 우리는 이제 두 분의 발표를 들었습니다. 첫 번째, 그 김교욱 박사님께서는 한국의 자율주행 교통물류 기본 계획에 대해서 발표를 해주셨고 5개의 추진 전략이 있는데 그 전략들이 서로 유기적으로 연계가 되어 있기 때문에 모든 것들이 다 중요하게 이제 다뤄져야 된다. 그리고 하나라도 이 사업 추진에서 어떻게 보면 이제 좀 적극적으로 진행을 해야 된다라는 말씀을 해주셨고요. 그다음에 일본에서 발표를 맡아주신 와타베 교수님께서는 일본에서 자율주행 차량이 활용이 되는 사례, 특히 장애인과 교통 소외 지역에서 우리가 현재 가장 중요한 이슈 중에 하나인 교통 형평성을 제고할 수 있는 방안에 대해서 말씀을 해주셨고, 그리고 자율주행 버스가 상용화되는 사례에 대해서 또 아주 재미난 그 중요한 결과를 보여주셨습니다. 저희가 이 첫 번째 세션의 토론을 조금 더 활발하게 하기 위해서 제가 그 토론을 두 라운드의 토론으로 준비를 해봤습니다. 첫 번째 토론은 자율주행 차량 관련된 기술 분야에 대한 토론이고요. 두 번째 라운드는 자율주행 차량의 임플리멘테이션에 관련된 그 정책에 관한 부분입니다. 제가 먼저 그 질문을 드리고요. 그 토론자께서는 제가 드린 질문에 대해서 간단하게 답변을 해주시고 또 여기에 토론자분의 의견을 덧붙여 주셔도 좋을 것 같습니다. 그리고 토론자분들께서도 혹시나 그 다른 토론자분이라든가 아니면은 그 발표한 분께 질문 있으시면은 언제든지 질문을 해주셔도 좋을 것 같습니다. 그럼 활발한 토론을 위해서 여러분들이 참석을 해주셨는데 먼저 참석자를 먼저 소개를 해드리겠습니다. 첫 번째 세션에서는 4분의 참석자가 토론을 맡아주셨는데요. 첫 번째 참석자는 유세비 카타나 그 박사님이십니다. 어티코에서 시니어 매니저로 활동을 하고 계십니다. 두 번째 참석자는
Our second
웨이윤
discussant
지아오
is
국장님이시고
Director Wei Yun Zhao of
중국의
Research Institute of
리서치
Highway.
인스티튜트 오브 하이웨이에서 그 국장님으로
And
일을 하고
again,
계십니다.
he is
세 번째
working as
토론자는
director.
신재곤
Our
박사님이십니다.
second discussant
한국의
is
교통안전공단의
Professor Shin
단장으로 자율주행
He is now
차량
project
관련된
leader of the
다양한
Korea
사업의
Transportation
단장으로
Safety
일을 하고
Authority
계시고요.
and is handling
네 번째
many
토론자는 유시복
vehicle-related
박사님이십니다.
tasks.
유시복
Our final
박사님께서는
discussant
한국자동차연구원에서 센터장을
Director
맡고
Yu
계십니다.
Si-bok of Korea
네,
Automotive Technology
그러면 제가 첫
Institute.
번째 질문은
So let
닥터
me ask my first question to
카나타에게 제가
Dr.
질문을 먼저
Kanata.
드리겠습니다.
Katana,
닥터
sorry.
카나타, do you hear me? 닥터 카타나? 카타나?
Please repeat your question because I didn't hear your question. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Nice to meet you, Dr. Katana. My first question is, now recently level 3 automated driving technology of Daimler-Benz was approved last December. And Daimler-Benz announced that they will bring level 3 automated vehicles to the market this year. Could you explain about status quo of automated driving technology in Europe?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
please repeat your question because I didn't hear it. Thank you.
Oh, do you hear me now? Do you hear me? 여기 지금 음소거 해제를 해주셔야 될 것 같은데요. Dr. Katana, do you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you very
yeah.
well.
Yeah, I repeat my question. Level 3 automated driving technology of Daimler-Benz was approved last December. And Daimler-Benz announced they will bring level 3 automated vehicles to the market this year. Could you explain about the status quo of automated vehicles in Europe?
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak online. So I would like to present, let's say, the current status of automated driving and technology in Europe. So as you perhaps know, in Europe was just released on the 18th of February 2022, so 2 months ago, the Connected, Cooperative and Automated Mobility Roadmap, where ERPICO was a major contributor together with the OEM automotive and telecom industry. In this roadmap, there are stated the Vision 2050 for Europe, which means to deliver a long-term picture of road transport and its key challenges. The second important section of the roadmap is the Agenda 2030, where is described all domains, use cases, and their specific characteristics. The third chapter of the roadmap is the Outlook 2040, where are presented how use cases and business models will evolve further in the next decade in Europe. The fifth chapter of the roadmap is related to key enablers. So which are the main key enablers for infrastructure, for artificial intelligence and validation. And the last chapter of the roadmap, of the Connected and Cooperative and Automated Mobility Roadmap, it's about the project and initiatives, where are presented the quantity and types of activities taking place for the moment in Europe and also worldwide. So we say state of play. In parallel with this proposed roadmap, it was set up a strategic research and innovation agenda, which describes the strategy for achieving the expected impact of connected, cooperative, and automated mobility in Europe, and also the corresponding portfolio of activities, resources, and timeline from now till 2030. In order to give more details about the European status quo, it's important to highlight several flagship pan-European projects. So one, it's L3 pilot. Other important project, it was Concorda, together with Autopilot and Show. So all these projects already contributed to the preparation of the European motorways for automated driving and also high-density truck platooning, because I heard today in one of the previous presentations about logistics and how automated driving can support to create new businesses in logistic domains. So it was implemented in a number of projects, this specific use case, so high-density truck platoon, so hub-to-hub vehicle, autonomous vehicle, and of course, together with these important applications or use cases, so automated driving and high-density truck platooning, they were tested a number of connected services and technologies. One of the main objectives, of course, it was to assess performances in terms of reliability, availability of so-called hybrid communication systems. Regarding the applications and mentioned communication technologies, so they were implemented services related to day one services and day 1.5 applications. I don't know if you are familiar, but in Europe, it was a specific framework. So under CITS and C-ROADS, where have been defined the day one services, day 1.5 application services for automated driving. So I would like just only to give one more, let's say, details. For instance, the Sci-Level 3 technologies that have been tested cover a wide range of driving situations, including also parking, including overtaking on highways, and also driving through urban intersections. In our opinion, I think together with the European technological partners, I think all these tests provided valuable data for evaluating technical aspects. User acceptance is extremely important, driving and travel behavior, and as well as impact on traffic and safety. So regarding, the new policy, the new Green Deal policy that European Commission proposed, connected and cooperative and automated mobility. So we can say that it's not only a prerequisite for moving close to zero fatalities and severe injuries, but also a contributor when addressing the climate impact of mobility. I think one more idea. So in my opinion, it's very important to enforce our collaboration between European partners, Korean partners, Japanese partners, by opening opportunities to the European technological partners to use your test bed or field operation test in Korea and Japan, and Europe to do the same. The Korean and Japanese technological partners to test that technology in their European pilot sites, in European testbed. I think this will play a major role to open the market and to increase the interoperability, and at the same time, of course, to increase the user acceptance, and of course, to see the impact on traffic and safety in our countries. So this is just my first let's say, introduction, and I hope that I gave an overview about the current status quo of automated driving. I can give you more details because I am a project coordinator in several flagship European projects related to automated driving. So I can give you many details, technical details, policy approaches, how we'll manage a number of challenges related to cross borders, because in Europe, in European Union, there are 27 member states, and it's a huge challenge when we test automated driving and cross the border. There are a number of challenges regarding, of course, not only the technology, but also the liability. So I also can give you more details today in my, let's say, further discussions about, for instance, the role of public and private sector, about the challenges. So I don't want to use the term limitations, just I prefer to use the challenges regarding this specific legal framework and compliance assessment. So I will, let's say, end my first, let's say, intervention, giving the opportunity to the other speakers to present more details, and I will continue after them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Katana. Dr. Katana talked about the overview of automated driving technology in Europe, and he also suggested a very interesting collaboration idea between Europe and the Asian countries, like a field operation test or application of the automated driving system. Thank you very much. The next discussant is Director Jiao. Director Jiao, do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. My question is, recently, Pony AI has been awarded a permit by Beijing city authorities to offer driverless service in southeastern Beijing a couple of days ago. In Japan and Korea, also today, Dr. Watada also told us about automated bus. But in China, you are working on driverless taxi or robot taxi. Can you talk about status quo of robot taxi service in China?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kim, for the interest for the development of driverless taxi in China. In fact, Beijing City Authority have granted the permits to offer driverless taxi service in pilot areas, or we could say in limited areas, to both Pony AI company and Baidu company. In Beijing, by far, this permit is a pilot project to expand the driverless taxi service area from 20 square kilometers to 60 square kilometers. The obvious change this time is that the driver's seat will be empty according to Beijing's permit. The driver of such automated taxi will be transferred to the co-pilot seat next to the driver's seat in the front row of the vehicle. In China, we call the driver in automated vehicle as a safety guard. The safety guard cannot control the vehicle at all during the driving time. There is an emergency button that the safety guard could push to stop the vehicle in case of emergency happened. This is a great progress and challenge in terms of the automated driving technology. Actually, before Beijing's permit, Pony AI also has been awarded official permit by Nansha District of Guangzhou City in the south of China. This is actually the first official permit for the driverless taxi services running in China. This permit means more than Beijing because it admits Pony's driverless taxi has achieved the same right with the traditional taxi operation company. The driverless taxi service will smoothly emerge into the whole taxi operation in Guangzhou City. However, in Nanshan District, the safety guard should sit in the driver's seat to monitor the situation and take place of the driverless taxi in case of emergency. So now, all of you could tell the exact difference of the driverless taxi service between Guangzhou City and Beijing City. I think it will help you better understand the status quo of driverless taxi service in China.
Thank you very
So
much.
in common, if I could, I'd like to summarize 3 key points here regarding to the driverless taxi services in China. First of all, the technical level of the driverless taxi service in China now is level 4 according to the definition of SAE International. We still need patience and a long time to move on to the level 5 to deploy the technology to a true driverless taxi. The second one is by far, no matter which company, we know that the cost of the driverless taxi is around 1 million RMB, almost 10 times of the traditional taxi price. We still need patience and a long time to wait for the cost down for the level 4 driverless taxi to be sold in the market. So the last one is the Ministry of Transport China is encouraging the deployment of automated vehicles and keeping a close eye on the commercialization of the driverless taxi took place in the city level. As the think tank of the Ministry of Transport, of course, my institute is speeding up the research on the national levels of policy, standards, and specifications on driverless taxi. That's all I'd like to share with you here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your experiences in robotaxi services in China. In the past, we thought level 5 would be a dream for us, but if I see the case in China, then level 5 is not too far, and that can be realized soon. Okay, and I will talk about with Korean experts. 첫 번째로 제가 신재곤 박사님께
So first
먼저
question
질문을
would be to
드리겠습니다.
Dr. Shin Jae-wook.
일단 자율주행
Dr. Shin
자동차
Jae-won, sorry.
한테
So
우리가
for
몸을 맡길 정도로
AVs,
자율주행 자동차가 지금 안전한 상황인가요?
is the AV
기술적인
safe enough
부분이나
for
이런
us to
것들
just sit
측면에서
down
어떤
and
그
just
수준까지
lay
우리가
down?
자율주행
So
자동차가
to
개발이 되어
which
있는지
level
이런
the
부분을
AV
안전
has been
관점에서 좀
developed
말씀해
for,
주면 좋을 것
from a
같습니다.
safety point of view, please.
감사합니다.
So thank you for the question.
한국교통안전공단 자동차 안전연구원 신재곤입니다.
My name is Shin Jae-won from
먼저
Korea Transportation Safety Authority.
장관님께서 말씀해주신 자율주행 자동차의
So
안전에 대해서
you talked
얘기하기
about
전에
the AV
먼저
safety, but
자율주행
before
자동차의
that,
그 개념을 먼저
let's talk
생각을 하셔야
about
될 것
what
같아요.
AV
그러니까 결국
really
무슨 얘기냐면
is.
결국 이 운전의 영역을
Which means that
사람이 한다는
driving,
영역을 생각을 하시면 됩니다.
a person
그러니까
should be driving,
기계가
human
아닌
should be
그러니까
driving.
사람이 해야 되는
So
영역을 이제 기계 시스템이
this
해야
is
되는
something
영역이기
that a
때문에
human
그만큼
being used to do,
인간의
but
영역을
then now it's
시스템이
a
침범을
system doing.
하면서
So
인간에
it's
대한
actually
그만한 개런티를
system
해야 된다는 거에 대해서
challenging the human being. So
굉장히 좀
there should be
어렵다고 하는
guarantee.
먼저 말씀을 드리고요.
So
그래서
yes, I
지금 아까
believe. So I have to
말씀드렸던 그
tell
여러
you that it is
중국도
very
사례도
much
보셨지만
difficult. So yes, we have seen the China
기본적으로
case, of course.
모든 서비스가 현재는
But
전부 다
basically,
양산
every
개념이 아니에요.
service
양산이라는
is
건 누구나
not
살 수 있는 개념이 아니고
yet
지금 현재
for
다
everyone.
시범 사업 실증
Everything is
그다음에
pilot. right
기술
now.
개발하는
So it's
식의
not yet
표현을
in
하고
mass
있습니다. 그러니까
production. It's,
그만큼
we
어렵다는
all
걸 먼저
talk about
말씀을 드리고요.
pilots, all about
현재 그
demonstrations. So it's
자율주행
hard,
자동차라고
really.
하는 건 현재 아까
And the
기술 레벨에서
AVs
레벨
right now,
3
from a
정도가
technological point of
돼야지만이
view,
우리가
we
자율주행
say that
자동차라는
we can call
표현을
it
쓸 수가 있습니다. 그런
on an
면에서
AV if it's
아까
over
독일도
level
잠깐 언급이
3.
나왔습니다만
So
독일은
you
메르세스
briefly
벤츠가 지금
mentioned
레벨 3 자율주행
Germany's
형식 승인을
Mercedes
얻은
Benz.
상태고요.
They
아마
have
그래서
approval on level
유럽에서는
3.
아마 하반기쯤에
So
판매가 되지 않을까
later
그렇게
this year, I
보여지고
believe the
한국에서도
sales would
현대자동차
be
제네시스가
start.
올 연말을 목표로 좀
And
하고는
in Korea,
있습니다만 이
Hyundai's
자율주행
Genesis is
자동차 우리가
aiming this
영화에서
year,
보는 그런
but
자율주행 자동차의
still,
개념을 봤을
it is
때는 좀
not
낮은
something
레벨이라고 먼저 이해를
comparable to
하시면 될
what
것
we can
같습니다.
see in the movies.
그중에서
It's
특히
still at a
여러분도
lower
특히
stage.
언론에서 얘기하지만
And in the press,
그 따지고 보면 테슬라가
seen-
오토파일럿 개념을 하는데
So
테슬라의
Tesla
오토파일럿
uses the
개념은
autopilot,
자율주행
right?
자동차가
But
아닙니다. 현재
Tesla's
레벨 2
autopilot is
정도로
not an AV
공식적으로
yet.
법규적으로
It's
레벨
officially
2입니다.
level
그게 무슨
2,
얘기냐면
which means
자율주행 자동차의 자율주행 모드로 갈
for an
경우에
AV
어떤 사고에
vehicle
대한
to make
책임은
AV
무조건
mode, fully AV mode,
사람이 져야 되는
even in level
레벨
3,
3가
all the
되면 시스템이 운전하면 시스템이 책임을 져야
until level
되는데
2, all liabilities
공격
go to
좀
the human being.
좀
Starting
우연-
level
뭐라고
3,
표현하나? 좀
then the liability
아쉽지만
goes
테슬라의
to
자율주행
the system.
자동차는
So
사고가 난 경우 물론 자동적으로
actually,
자율주행
until
한다고
now,
하더라도
even
사고가 나면 모든
Tesla does the
책임은
autonomous
운전자가
vehicle,
있습니다.
all the
그런
liability
부분을
goes
좀
on
더
the driver
검토를 하시면
because it's level 2.
이해하시면 좋을
So
것 같고요.
please
그만큼
bear that in
자율주행
mind.
자동차의 안전도 확보 문제는
So
굉장히
again,
어렵다는
the
그런
securing the
생각을
safety of AV is
하셨으면 좋겠고요.
still
또
very
여러분이 아시다시피
hard
그만큼
and we have
어려운
a
게
long
우리
way to go.
휴대폰이나 이런
And
가전제품들
think about
같은 한번
home
고장나면은
appliances, about
다시
cell
리부팅하면
phones.
상관이 없습니다만
So if
저희 그 자율주행
there's something
자동차는
wrong, then we can
한번
simply
사고가 나면
reboot.
바로
But
사망으로 이어지기
think about
때문에
AVs. If there's an accident,
95%,
you might die.
99%가 아니라
So
99.999%
even
10-9에
there's
정도에
a
준하는 세이프티를
99.999% safety,
제작자는
even won't be enough. So
하는 겁니다. 그래서 어쨌든
99.109 figures
정부에서도 이런
should be
자율주행
maybe
자동차에
enough
갈
then.
수밖에
So
없는 그런
the
시행을 충분히
government
이해를 하고 있습니다. 그래서
are
아까
quite
그
understands what's
기초
going
발제에서
on here.
말씀드렸습니다. 27년까지는
Already
자율주행
seen
자동차가
from the presentation,
레벨
so
4
until
수준의 자율주행
2027,
자동차가
we say
양산할
that
수
we will
있도록
be
정부
mass
인프라 이런
producing
지원들이 충분히
level
이루어질
4
거로 보여지고요.
AVs. So we're
그다음에
working on infrastructures right now.
특히 그 현재 그런 측면에서
And from that
아까
point
제일
of
처음에
view,
말씀 양산이 어렵다고 제가
So I said
얘기했지
that
않습니까?
mass production
그
will be very
독일에서
hard to
같은
do,
경우는
but in
새로운 법이 아마
Germany,
올해 아마
I
이번 달 안에
believe
퍼블리시 되는 거로 알고
that there
있는데요.
is a new law publishing this month.
일반 대중 상용에 대한 자동차와 그다음 비즈니스용의 상용차 있죠. 우리가
So
로보택시든지
there
운영하는
will be
자동차에
a barrier
대해서 구분을 해서
between the
법제화를
passenger
추진을
cars
하면서
and the
안전기준
commercial
같은 걸
cars. So
좀
there will be
완화시키면서
separate
그러니까
safety
제가
measures
살 수는
for
없죠.
the
사업자,
passenger cars
사업자가 타는
and
그런 거로
business
해서
cars. So
한다고 진행을
they will
좀
be
하고
focusing
있습니다.
more the business
그다음에
cars as
그
well.
안전 기준에 대해서 좀 제가
And for
안전도
safety
확보하는 문제에서
measurements to
얘기하는
secure safety.
이 인간의 영역을 운전하기
So
때문에
again, that is
그 아까 그
something that
처음에
human
그
beings used to do.
그 처음에 그 패널 하신 분이 말씀하셨듯이
We've also heard
여러
from the
가지
panelists there are
사람이
a
운전하는
lot of
가상의 시나리오를 다 해야 돼요.
scenarios that have to be
추월이라든지
involved.
끼어드는 거, 그다음에
Overtaking,
선라이즈
going
아니면
in,
여러 가지 악천후도 마찬가지고
and
그런
sunrise
시험들을
and
모두
other
해야 되기
visual
때문에 시험
impairments.
자체가
So we have to
뭐
have a lot of
옛날같이 한번
scenarios there
정형적으로 한번 딱
because it's
시험하고
not a
끝나는
human.
것이
So it's
아니라
not a
그런
single
모든
test
시나리오
like what we used
과정에서
to in the past, but we
아까
have to have
말씀하신 그
nearly
KCT
all
같은 테스트베드
scenarios.
실험도시에도
So
시험을 해야 될 필요가 있고
then
신도로도
we
시험을
have to
해야
have this
되고
test bed.
너무나
So
어려운
that test bed
시험들은
is a part of an actual
시뮬레이션이나
city.
이런
So
쪽으로
we have
굉장히
to
시험을 하는
have all the
그런
kind of
굉장히
simulation,
어려운
the
그
tests.
좀 분야를
So
좀 하고 있습니다.
actually it's
이것이 다
something that is not
인간이
very
운전한
easy.
영역을 시스템이
Again,
건드리기 때문에 나올
because
수밖에 없는
the system is
거예요.
now
옛날에는
taking over
문제에서 인간이
a
다 책임을
human's
지고
part.
운전자가 책임을 지면
Because the
되거든요.
driver used
그
to take all the
운전자에 대한 책임을
liabilities, but
시스템이
then
해야
now
되니까 그런
system
문제는 좀
is taking a
나와
part of the
있고요.
human
그다음에 안전의
liability. So
현황을
this is
봤을
what is
때는 뭐
something very important. So
다들
the status
아시겠지만
quo.
사이버 보안이라든지 아니면 그
We are
센서
always
퓨전에
talking
대한
about
그
sensor
기능
fusion,
안전 이런 것을
cybersecurity,
확보하는
redundancy.
고장이 났을 때
If
세컨더리
there's
리더는 확보하는 문제.
one accident, we
그다음에
have
좀
to have
더
secondary
보면 수용성
redundancy
문제에서
and
좀 더
acceptability.
차가 발전하면은 인간에 대한
If there's a
그
technology
휴먼 머신의
advancement,
인터페이스.
then we have to talk about the human-machine interface.
차가
So think
진행을
about
하면
it.
신호등
if a
앞에서
car
이게 가야 돼?
advances
가야 돼? 말아야
and
돼? 우리 아이
after a
컨택트하고
traffic
그런
light,
문제 자율차하고
we
사람하고
do eye
컨택해야 되는
contact
인간과의
with the
어떤
driver
그런
actually,
컨택
but we
문제도
cannot do eye
포함이
contact with
되어
the
있을
system,
거라고
with the AV
생각을 합니다.
system. So that
여기까지
is
일단
another
저는
thing that I wanted to
말씀을
mention.
네,
Thank you for
감사합니다.
listening.
신종욱
Thank you very
박사님.
much, Dr.
그다음에
Shin.
이제 첫 번째
Now,
라운드의 마지막 질문을 제가 유시호
I would like
박사님한테
to ask the last
질문을
question
드리겠습니다.
to
조금
Dr.
전에 신종욱
Yu
박사님은 안전성에 대해서 이제 말씀을 해주셨고요.
Mr.
두
Shin
번째
talked
제가
about
유시호
safety,
박사님께는
and I
그럼
want to pay
우리나라의 자율주행
attention
자동차의
to
상용화는 과연 어떻게 진행이 되는
commercialization
것인가?
of
지금 상용화의
autonomous
수준하고
vehicles in Korea.
그 상용화를 위해서 우리가 조금 더
For
적극적으로
the
추진해야
full
될 부분은 뭔지
commercialization,
이런
what
부분들을
we
조금
should
더
work on
말씀해
more.
주시죠.
I would like to hear from you, Mr. Yu.
예, 사실 저는
In fact,
이 상용화라는 게 결국은
if you
민간에서
think
해서
of a
민간이 주도를 해야
commercialization,
된다라고 생각을
it should
합니다.
be
우리나라는
human-led.
자동차 산업이 매우 큰 나라고
We
그리고
have a
이제
massive
이게
scale of
사실은
the auto
상용화까지
industry.
가려 그러면은 많은
To
자본이 투입이 돼야
reach
되는데 그거
commercialization,
어차피
it
정부에서 하기는
requires
좀
a lot
어려운
of
일이기 때문에
capital, and that also
근데
needs
그
some private
상용화의
sector's
수준이라고 얘기하면
support.
이제
If you
심세웅
think
박사님
of the
금방
level of
얘기하셨듯이
commercialization, as
레벨
Mr.
1
Shin
시스템은
mentioned,
이미 양산이 되고 있고
level
그걸
1,
이제
2
자율주행이라고
has been
부르든 아니면 이제
already
뭐라고 부르시든지
realized
간에
in
그런데
Korea,
어쨌든 이제
however you
레벨 3
call it,
시스템은
but
올해 출시된다고
level
올해 또 작년에
3
출시된다고 또 얘기를
system
하다가 이제 올해로 얘기가 돼서 아마도 제
is
생각에는
still being developed.
그 제조사 보험이라든가 아니면
And
이제
maybe
또
insurance
다른 나라
company
제품들이 출시되는 거 봐가면서
and
천천히 이제 출시를 하시지 않을까. 이제 그
other
안전한 게 죄이니까요.
other manufacturers in
그렇게 하실 것
overseas
같다는 생각이 들고요.
should be our
그런데
reference
이제
to
그
move
신 박사님
forward.
잠깐
But
이야기를
as Dr. Shin
하셨습니다만은
mentioned,
사실은 이제 일본의 SIP
in fact,
로드맵에도
SIP
마찬가지입니다만은
in Japan is the
양산형 자동차
same.
현대자동차에서 옵션가로 이제 100만 원, 200만 원 주시고 사서 달래줄 수 있는 그 기능의 자율주행 기능.
So there are
그다음에
some
로봇 택시도 원래
facts,
개발이 돼서
some functions
기존의
that
택시
we
10배
can
가격인 이
introduce
차는
on
전혀
top
다른
of the
물건이고 사실 이제 시장
Japanese
형태도 다르고 예 그런 것 같습니다. 근데
technology, and
이
we
레벨
have a
3
slightly different
자동차가 이제
technologies. And in
현대자동차나
level
아니면 이제
3,
뭐 벤츠도 그렇고 이런 데서 나오게
Hyundai
되면
Motors,
그걸 이제
Mercedes,
그대로 판매가 되고 ODD가 설정이 돼서 그쪽에서 운영이 되게 될 텐데
will
여기에
set
대해서
ODD
이슈는 뭐 이렇게
and
여러분들이 많이 생각을 하셨겠습니다만은
I'm
ODD
sure you
영역을
have a lot
벗어나서
of
이렇게
thoughts.
운전을 하는 차는 어떻게 할 것이며 어떻게 단독을 할 것이냐
How
뭐
can
이런
we
상용화에
crack
대한
down
이슈는 이제 양산형 차는 그렇게
these
많이 또 갈
pilot
것 같고요.
vehicles out of
그런데
the
결국은
set zone? But at the
그
end of the day,
서비스용 자율차 이제 아까 로봇
service
택시
type
얘기가 나왔습니다만
vehicles, we
이것이
in our
결국은
Chinese case
판매가
we
되고 그
talked
로봇
about
택시 아니면 이제 뭐 딜리버리 차량도
autonomous
마찬가지고요. 이런
taxi.
것들이 판매가 되고 시장이
Also,
열려서 결국은 이
delivery
자율주행
vehicle will
생태계가
have a
그쪽으로 이제
new
또
market,
형성이
and
되기
we will
위해서는
create a new
결국은
market
가격인
in
것
those
같아요.
areas. And at the
이게
end of the day, it's all
경제성이 확보가
about cost.
되어줘야 되는데
We first have to secure the
차값에다가 자율주행
economic
센서, 자율주행
values,
시스템 그리고 그걸 개발한 엔지니어의 그 리서치 비용에 그다음에
research
운영 시스템
cost,
그리고
development
이제 그
cost,
이걸 운영하는 운영 플랫폼 시스템, 그 서비스 플랫폼
platform
시스템 등등을 포함한
to
모든
operate
비용이 사실은
all the
택시
costs
운전기사보다 싸야 되거든요.
should
근데
be
그것이
cheaper than
당장은 안
taxi
싸더라도
driver
이제 몇 년
themselves.
내로는 싸져야 된다라는
Yes,
보장이
it
있어야
couldn't
이것이
be
판매가 될
cheaper at the
텐데
beginning, but we
그것에
should
대해서는
reduce
제
the price.
생각에는
But
이제
to that
아직까지
end,
그
we
연구도 좀 별로 없는 것
haven't had
같고
enough
그야말로 어떤
research.
기술적인 수준이 되면
And
막연하게
once we
되지
reach a
않을까라고 생각을 하는 것 같은데
level of
제
a
생각에는 이게
technology, we
시장이
can
이미
realize that.
형성이 된 적이
However,
인류 역사 속에도 없기
we
때문에
haven't
그
had
부분에
such
대해서는 좀
markets
심도 있는
before,
연구를
so we
해서
need more
갈
in-depth
필요가 있겠다라는
discussions
생각이
and
저는 들고요.
thoughts to
특히 이제
reach to
교통전의
the
역할 중에서
cost
그
reduction.
정책적인 연구가 또 이제 교통
And in our
관점으로
institute,
정책과
we
그다음에
also
이제
need to work on some
여객
policy
수송이라든가 화물 수송에
issues,
대한 그런 연구도 같이 하시기 때문에 뭐 제 생각에는 그
especially for
부분은
cargo as well, and
교통전의
not
역할이
just for
되게 더
passenger
커지지
cars.
않을까라는
And
생각을 저는
we
했습니다.
should expand our research in
그리고
those
이제
areas. And also,
또 한 가지는 이제
another
어티커에서 말씀하신
point is,
사항을
according to
보면 이제
Article,
저희보다 이제 한 발 그래도 앞서 나가고 있구나
they
항상 이제
are
그런
more
걸 느끼게
advanced than
되는데
us.
근데 그 말씀하신 사항 중에서
And
저는
one
좀
of the
궁금한 게
items
뭐냐면
I'm curious
이 사실은
from
결국은
Article,
그
at At the end of the
아까
day,
제가 얘기 드렸듯이 이 시장이 열리느냐 마느냐는
whether we open the
민간의
market or
대규모
not,
자본이
it's
투자될
all
만큼
about
투자 가치가 있어서 그것이
large-scale
이제 상업성이
investment.
있느냐,
When
그거에 대한
private sectors
거를
decided it's
확실하게
worth
이제 보장을
investing,
해주고
and we have our job is to
가시화시키는 그런 부분인 것
guarantee the
같습니다. 그래서
market potentials
이제 우리나라도
and to make it
그렇지만은
visual and feasible.
저기 일본이나 아니면
In
유럽에서
Japan, in
이
Europe, or in
민간의
Korea,
자본이 유입되도록 하기 위한
we
민간의
need to
투자를
draw
유도하기
some
위한
private
그러한 이제
investment.
활동은 어떤 게
And what kind
있을까라는
of
궁금한 게
activities
좀
we
있고요.
can conduct?
그다음에 이제
I'm
김기혁
curious
박사님
about that.
발표하셨던 이 기본 계획의 전반적인 내용은 저는 참 깊이 공감을 하고 있습니다. 그런데 신정현 박사님 아까 말씀하셨듯이 사실은 또 이 서비스 사용자일차 특히 그야말로 이제 양산될 수도 얼마 안 되고 사실은 완성차의 차량하고 똑같이 시험을 하면 절대로 통과 못할 그런 차들이 결국은 이제 판매가 되어줘야 되는데 그에 대한 제도에 대해서 이제 이야기들이 이제 나가고 있는 시기인 것 같아요. 그래서 그런 부분들은 또 역시 또 이제 중요한 부분이 아닐까 그런 생각을 했습니다.
네, 그 첫 번째 라운드에서 우리가 자율주행 자동차 이제 테크놀로지에 대해서 얘기를 했다면은 이제 두 번째 라운드에서는 우리가 팔러시하고 가버넌스에 대해서 한번 얘기를 해보겠습니다. 닥터 카타나, 닥터 카타나. Dr. Katana, do you hear me? Dr. Katana?
Yes,
yes,
I can hear you very well.
Okay, thank you. The second round is about the policy and governance of the.
What I can say, so,
Hello?
Yes, so I fully agree with, yes, do you hear me?
Oh, yes, yes. And the second round is about the policy and the governance. And Dr. Yu also asked the role of private sector. And for the automated driving systems, the partnership between public sector and the private sector is very important. What do you think about the role of public sector and the private sectors?
Thank you for your question. So I fully agree with the previous speaker, with Dr. Yu. So I would like first of all to point it out a number of indeed the costs are very high for the CCCAM investment. So in our opinion, business model with a large number of actors or stakeholders of the CCCAM ecosystem. Other important challenge regarding the road safety for the automated cars. If the road safety enable will the connectivity enables improved management and should reduce inefficiency, and in the same way we would like to see how automated cars will contribute to lowering pollution and supported the smart and green goals of the CCCAM technology. Achieving innovation through new business models is a significant challenge to be reached by 2030 vision. Other important challenge, before to give more details about the public investment, are related to legal frameworks and compliance assessment. We just implemented in Europe a flagship project, so the Concorda project, where we analyzed in details all legal aspects regarding the automated driving. So all these inputs will be used by the European Commission in order to prepare the future directive related to automated driving. So one important challenge regarding the legal framework, it's related to the responsibility and liability. You know very well when an automated car will cross a border and will have an accident, there are a number of challenges related to liability. Other important legal framework is the testing environment, because the testing environment will not create and significant liability, but of course will be the basis of exception for future explicit licenses. In terms of cybersecurity, in terms of data regulation and governance, in terms of electronic communication laws, there are other challenges that at the moment affect the commercialization of the automated cars. Just only one example, in terms of data regulation and governance, so CITS applications implies a risk of continuous broadcasting of personal data, and therefore a risk of tracking of individuals, like other form of proceeding of location data. The cooperative characters of the CTS applications can create also a sense of constant surveillance for the individuals, and more generally blurs the identification of responsibilities and create information asymmetries. So GDPR, you know, in Europe it was implemented and should be, let's say, considered by any entity that dealing with this type of applications. Now I would like to give more details regarding the public-private partnership, because it's an important aspect regarding the future development, the future commercialization of automated cars. So in my opinion, the public authorities will play several major roles, such as infrastructure enablers that will provide real-time traffic control, process positioning, CITS enable adequate cooperative coverage, quality of services, and data trustworthiness. Another important role of the public authorities is the validation enabler by assuring a functional safety of the whole traffic system. Other important function of the public authority is to assure the functional safety of the infrastructure, because common evaluation of perception of performance for both vehicle and infrastructure, for rules and principles for safe stop areas play a very important role. And last but not least, public authority is playing the regulator role. I'm referring here mostly to the safe operation and also to the harmonization of the regulation. If, on the other hand, if we are looking to the private sector, I prefer to use that they will play the role of vehicle enablers that will continue the investment in order to assure affordable vehicles with SIA level 3, 4 automation, enable automation capabilities, technologies, services, vehicle-to-vehicle connectivity, vehicle-to-infrastructure connectivities, and also in the future to continue to invest for real-time solution as baseline of the CCCAM safety functions. Infrastructure support for automated driving, it's extremely important that should be assured from the different public authorities bodies. And also it's very important to see how the design domain of the automated vehicles by providing a real-time digital twin of the physical and digital infrastructure. In my opinion, if we are looking to achieve sooner a critical mass for the automated cars, so digital twin needs not only to include the static data, so related, of course, to the layout of lines in different sections, so tunnel loading, but like accidents in real times and any other safety relevant information. So therefore, in my opinion, the public authorities will play an important role in the near future if we like, together with the private investors, to achieve sooner a critical mass for the automated cars. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Katana. It was very informative. And my question goes to Director Zhao. In China, pilot project and commercial services of automated driving is more advanced than other countries. And as Dr. Katana just mentioned, regulation is really important for this automated driving system. Could you explain legislation or regulation related with the test and the commercialization of automated driving in China? Unmuted. Dr. Jiao,
We cannot hear you.
Please unmute.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, now, yes.
Oh, thank you. I got a question from Dr. Kim. Thank you for raising this very critical question. Frankly speaking, with China, I really don't think our project and commercial services of automated driving is more advanced than other countries. We also have realized the news of advanced cases in other countries, including the similar project in Jeju City in Korea, the automated driving in the highway of Tokyo in Japan, Waymo's pilot project in Arizona State in the US. With China, are very glad to find that we maybe are one of the most advanced countries around the world. Regarding to the regulation related to the tests and commercialization of automated driving, here I'd like to say that maybe both national level legislation and local city level legislation, we need to solve the core legal issues such as how to improve the safety of automated driving system to meet the safety requirement. Who should take what part of the responsibility in case traffic accident happened to a driverless taxi? How to define the accident insurance, the criteria of the driverless taxi to go into the market and out of the market, big data security and supervision. Too many, global changes related to automated vehicles. We need more patience and cooperation together to make the fully driverless taxi operated on the public road. At that same time, maybe at that time, we could announce the real commercialization of the driverless taxi. So we need cooperation and we also need patience. That's it, Dr. Kim.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. That was a really important point. We have to work together to implement the automated driving system in practice. Yeah, 제가 이제 그 두 분 한국 토론자님께 이제 질문을 드리는데 우리가 지금 시간이 많이 지체가 돼서 좀 간단하게 좀 답변을 해주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 우리 그 자율주행 자동차의 안전 인증 제도에 대해서 한번 여쭤보고 싶은데 보통 일반 자동차하고는 조금 다르잖아요. 어떤 식으로 이게 앞으로 발전이 될까요?
인증 제도는 뭐 다 아시겠지만 자동차는 형식승인 유럽의 대표적인 형식승인 제도 한국이나 미국의 자기인증 제도로 나눠서 운영을 하고 있습니다. 근데 그 지금 자율주행 자동차가 사실은 굉장히 이 안전 기준이 강화됐다기보다는 되게 복잡해졌어요. 그러다 보니까 사실 유럽에서는 어떤
So
경우는
in
이거는
Europe,
사전에 형식 쓰기가 되게 어려운
so
아이템이
approval
있고
by
또
model
미국의
is
입장이나 저희
very
한국의
much
입장도 막 이거는 그냥
difficult to do that. And
판매해서는 안 될 것 같고 사전에
even in
좀 뭔가
Korea, we're
조금
thinking about things
컨트롤했으면
like
좋겠고
we
하는
cannot
그런
sell
부분들이 같이
this
좀
as
공존을
is.
하고
We have to
있습니다. 그래서
control that
현재
before
제가 인증에서
sales.
봤을 때는
So
그런 기존
from my
기본의
point of
자기
view,
인증과 형식승
the
제도는 운영을
approval by
하겠지만
model and
조금 더
self-approvals
보완되는 아마
will
그런
be there,
그
but
서로
we have
간에
to do some
보완하는
upgrades on
그런
this
것이 아마
approval
논의가 되고
systems as
현재
well.
또 조금은 진행이 되고 있는 거로 알고 있어요. 아마 그렇게
And
진행이 되는 거로 알고 있습니다.
there are still
네,
things going
감사합니다.
on, so
신박사님.
this
그
is
부분은 사실은
what I
굉장히
can
많은 논의가 필요한
add. So
것인 것 같고요.
yes, I believe so.
나중에
We
또
have to
기회가 되면 또
discuss
다시
more on that.
말씀드리겠습니다.
So
마지막으로
I will
유시호
ask that
박사님
question
이제
maybe
앞으로
later.
자율주행
And
자동차
Dr.
국제
Yu
표준이
again.
굉장히 중요한 이슈가 될 텐데
Now, the standards
이
will be very
상용화
important
또는
as
이
well.
표준에
And
대해서
for
우리 뭐
commercialization and
정부의 역할이라든가 뭐 이런
standardization,
부분 혹시 그
maybe
정부한테
there are some
제안을 해주실
rules that
부분이 있나요?
government can take. You can
예,
offer and suggest.
표준에 대해서는 뭐
Yes,
다른 분들도
regarding
이제 활동을 하고 계시니까 근데 제
standards, I'm sure you
생각에는
are well
그
aware.
자율주행 시스템 표준은
Above all,
레벨 1, 2 시스템에서 이제 레벨 3, 4 시스템 쪽으로
autonomous
표준의 그
vehicles
개발
is all
방향이랄까
about level
그다음에
4
이제
and
아이템들이
level
넘어가는
3
것
and
같고요.
4's
물론
direction.
이제 그
Of course,
기존에 없던 그 ADAS 시스템 예를 들어서 이제
ADAS
오토바이에 대한
system, for
거라든가
example,
이제 이런 거에
for
대한 부분들은
motorcycle
추가가 되는 것 같습니다. 그리고
should be
제
and
생각에는
could
지금
be
이제 그
added.
큰 변화 중에 하나가
One of the biggest
자율주행
challenges
시스템이
and
어떻게
changes
설계가
is
돼야
that
되고
how
그다음에 어떻게
we
테스트가
should
돼야 되는지
design
요거에
autonomous
대한
vehicle
그 사실은
and how we
그
test
이제
autonomous
신경훈
vehicle
박사님이
has been changed.
국토부
As
쪽에서
Dr.
하시는 이제
Shin
형식 승인이라든가 이런
works
거는
on
이거
some
이상이
type,
되면 사실은 이제 안전하다라고
vehicle
이제
type
몇 가지
approval.
테스트를 하시는 거지 않습니까? 근데
And he
예를
does
들어서
a few
그렇게 테스트를
tests.
하더라도
And even
노란 옷
after
입은
these
사람은
tests,
감지를 못하고
let's
아니면
say
비가 오면 안 되고
some
그다음에 포털이
conditions are
5cm 이상이면 안 되고
restricted. So
이런
for example,
그
you
기능상의
have
그런 그
to
디테일한
wear
부분들이
certain
다
colors
있는데
to
이런
be
부분들에 대해서는
recognized or
결국은 이제
in
표준에서
certain
정의하고
weather
할 수밖에
conditions
없거든요.
and
근데
blah blah blah.
그
So these are
액티비티는
all
사실은
about
이제 막 시작되는
standardization. So
단계라서
we
제
are
생각에
just
이게
in the
상당히 오래
infant
걸릴 것
stages,
같습니다.
and it will take a very long time.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very
오늘 네
much.
분의 토론자
Thank you
정말로
very, very
그
much
아주
for
굉장히
all four
중요한
panel
내용들을 아주
discussants
짧은
who
시간에
touched
많이 압축해서
upon
발표를 해주셨는데
important
시간이 조금
elements of
제한이
autonomous
돼서 더
vehicle. I
많은
am
얘기를
very
나누지
sorry
못한
that
게 참
our
아쉽습니다.
time is
어쨌든 네
running,
분의
but once
토론자
again,
본 세션에
it
참석을
was
해주셔서
excellent and
감사하고요.
useful and
예, 우리
insightful.
앞으로
Thank you
자율주행
very much.
자동차가 앞으로
And
상용화되고 실용화를 할 수
to
있는 데 같이 좀
realize the
노력했으면
full
좋겠습니다. 네,
commercialization of
감사합니다.
autonomous vehicle, we need
네,
your
고맙습니다.
cooperation. Thank you
모두
very
큰
much.
박수
And
한번
that wraps
주시면
up the
좋겠습니다.
panel discussion. Thank you.
이로써 그
And that
세션 첫
wraps
번째
up
세션을
the
마치게
very
되었습니다.
first session.
저희가 한 10분
We will have
이렇게
about
여유를 못 드릴 것 같습니다. 그 휴식 시간을요. 2부 세션은
a few minute break.
4시 10분에 시작하도록
We will
하겠습니다.
start in 8
4시 10분에
minutes
시작을 해서
with the session 2.
폐회를 또 한 10분 정도 늦춰서 아마 5시 반
So
전에는 끝낼 수
probably
있도록
we will
그렇게
finish at
준비하겠습니다.
around
그러면 잠시
5:30
차
Korean
한잔
Standard
드시고
Time. So
10분 뒤에
just have
뵙도록
about
하겠습니다.
8-minute
고맙습니다.
break, and I'll be back at 4:10 in Korean Standard Time. Thank you very much.
저기 제 거 발표 자료 좀 띄워 주실래요? 이게 리모컨이 작동이 안 되는데 한번 테스트 좀 해볼게요. 이게 대단한 데다가 참 이게 어디를 보고 쌓아야 돼? 아, 여기 또 되네. 중간에 안 되면 제가 다음 말씀드릴게요.
저기 슬라이드를 두 번째 세션으로 바꿔주세요. 예, 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much.
2시 10분, 아니 4시 10분이 되어서
It's
이제
4:10 already.
저희 제6차
Now
전기차 자율주행
let
정책
us
포럼
begin
두
the
번째
second
세션을
session
시작하도록
of the
하겠습니다.
6th International Electric and Automated Mobility Forum.
시작할 때 말씀드렸다시피 그 하이브리드 형식이
So as I mentioned
여러
from the
가지
beginning, there are
그
a lot of
미디어를 한꺼번에 섞어서
things
또
related to
유튜브로
hybrid.
송출하는 그런 상황이기 때문에
So we are doing a lot of
조금
things
그
together. We are now
기술적으로
live on YouTube also. So
완전하게 안 된 상태에서 시작을 해서
we have a lot of technical
시간을
issues that are
넣었습니다.
going
사과
on, and
말씀드립니다.
I apologize again
두
for
번째
the delay.
세션은 이제
So
그
going
저희가
to
조금
our
늦게
second session,
시작했지만은
we are starting
발제와 패널
late,
토론을 조금씩 당겨서
but I will
가능한
try to
예정된
shorten the
시간 안에
presentation
마칠 수
and the
있도록
panel
노력하도록 하겠습니다.
discussion so that we can end as scheduled.
세션의 주제는 국민
So
체감형
the subject of the
스마트
session is
모빌리티
people-centered
실현
smart
전략입니다.
mobility service realization.
저희 한국교통연구원의 김태영
So
선생님께서
let me introduce
한국의 스마트 시티와
Director
스마트
Kim
모빌리티 실현
Tae-hyung of
전략이라는
COTI.
주제를
He will
가지고
present
지금 현재 시작하고
on
있는
the subject of Korea's strategy for promoting smart mobility in smart cities. He will talk about the
스마트 모빌리티
just
전략을
starting
진행하겠습니다.
Korea's smart city.
그러면 김태형 센터장님을 박수로 모시겠습니다.
Please give him a big round of applause.
거리가 충분히 한 10m 이상 떨어져 있어서
So I'm
마스크를 벗고
distant, like 10
예,
meters away from everyone, so I'll take
소개받은
off my mask.
한국교통연구원의
So,
김태형입니다.
as introduced, I'm Tae-hyung Kim. I'm from Center for
오늘
Smart
사실
City and
이제
Transport.
스마트 시티 그리고 스마트
So today we're talking about smart city and smart mobility.
하게 됐는데
And I will touch that also. Globally speaking, smart city related businesses, the numbers are more than 4,000. So country by country, city by city, they have a lot of different goals and a lot of different strategies, and they are doing their smart city businesses. Korea also, the government has started a smart city strategy back in 2018. And that, the most important part of that smart city is smart mobility, of course. So today I will talk about the smart mobility in the smart city and how it is propelled and what
다음이요.
issues we have.
전체적으로
So
오늘
Okay, so I'll go on.
컨텐츠는 이
So
세
today's
개로 구분이
contents,
되어
I will
있습니다.
talk
그래서 정부가
about these three
2018년에
issues. Back in
범부처로
2018,
발표했던
the
스마트
whole
시티 추진
government
전략과
announced the
그다음에
smart city
국가 시범 도시에
strategy.
있는 그런 스마트
And
모빌리티에
we
대한
have smart
추진
mobility
전략 부분을
services
말씀을
in
좀
national
드리고요.
pilot city.
그리고 국가 시범 도시 안에 있는 그런 다양한 모빌리티
And again,
서비스에 대해서
in this
그런
national
계획들을
pilot
제가
city,
말씀을
I
좀
will talk
드리도록
about
하겠습니다.
some
그리고 국가 시범
plans
도시가
as well.
현재 지금 계속 구축 중이지만
So we are still building the national pilot city,
2024년
but
상반기에
in early
입주가
2024,
시작됩니다.
I
그래서
guess
이제
we
그때
will
오픈이 되기
open
때문에
our smart city.
나름대로 그 전에
So before that,
국가 시범 도시 5-1
before
생활권과
the
비슷한
national
환경에
pilot city
있는
opens, we are now
생활권,
focusing
1생활권을
the
대상으로 해서
5-1
지금 리빙랩
district
사업을
where
지금
we are
추진을 하고
doing
있는
the
중입니다.
living
그래서 리빙랩
lab
사업과 관련된
project.
부분들을 또
So there
말씀을
are a lot of
드리도록
things related to
하겠습니다.
this living lab. I will briefly
다음이요.
touch upon that. Next slide, please.
다음이 그래서 2018년 1월 달에
So back in January
대통령
2018,
직속의 4차 산업혁명위원회
The Fourth
그리고
Industrial
다부처가
Revolution
함께
Committee,
스마트
with other
시티
government bodies together,
한국의 스마트 시티 추진
announced
전략을
the smart
발표를
city
하였습니다. 근데 그
project
안에
and
크게 네
plans.
가지의
And there are
전략들이
four
담겨져
main
있습니다.
strategies in there.
보면 첫
As you
번째는
can see,
나름대로 도시 성장 단계에
so
따라서
this is
스마트
related to
시티를
urban
추진해야
growth.
된다라고
The
하는
level
부분입니다.
of smart city
그래서
is
지금
related
국가
to the
시범
level
도시
of urban
세종과
growth.
부산과 관련된
So Sejong,
그런
Busan is the
신도시의 어떤 그런 계획들도
government pilot
포함이 돼
cities,
있고
and the
그다음에
new city
기존
plans
도시
are
지금 현재 있는
included.
기존 도시를
Existing cities
조금 더
also,
스마트하는
we are trying to make
업그레이드하는 차원에서 어떤 그런
upgrades to the existing cities.
부분들도 있고요.
So some
그다음에
part is
지금
related to that also.
노후된 도시들
And
그런
aged
도시들에 대한
cities also,
재생 도시의 개념으로 또
we
스마트 시티가
are
접근을 하고
touching the
있습니다.
smart urban
그래서
regeneration with
나름대로
the term
성장
of smart city.
단계별로
So like I said,
차별된
according
어떤
to
접근을 해야 된다라고 하는 게
the
첫
level of
번째
the
추진
cities,
전략이고요.
we are
두
doing
번째 추진
different
전략은
approaches.
나름대로 도시의 기능을 고도화하고
So second is
도시를
to
운영 관리를
upgrade
잘하는
the
어떤 그런 새로운
the function
기술이
of
도입이
the
되는
cities.
부분들이 있고
So how to
거기에
manage better.
더해서
And
도시의
more
주인이
than that,
시민들이 체감할 수
since
있는
the citizens
시민들이
are
또
owners
느끼는
of the
체감하고
cities,
시민들에게
so we want to
다가가는 그런 새로운 기술들을
be closer to
가지고
the
접근해야
citizens, and
된다라고
we
하는
want
두
to
번째
know
전략이 있습니다.
what they are
세
thinking
번째
about. So
전략은
number two is related to that.
나름대로
The third one
민과 공관과 그다음에
is the
시민들이 같이
collaboration
가는
between the
협업하는
public and
어떤 그런
private sectors
거버넌스
with all
체계를
the citizens. So this is
구축해서
rather related to
추진한다라고 하는
governance.
어떤 그런 세 번째 큰 전략들이
That
있고요.
was,
네 번째
the
전략은
third pillar. The
여기
fourth pillar
보시다시피
here
법, 제도, 그다음에
is tied to
다양한
legalization,
글로벌 협력 등과
regulation,
관련해서
and more
정부가
global
정부 차원의 그런
cooperation. So this
적극적인
is
지원
more
체계로
government-oriented
진행한다라고 하는
support.
큰 네 가지의
So these
큰
were the
전략을
four
가지고
strategies, the four
현재
pillars,
한국의 스마트시티
and the smart
추진
cities of
전략은
Korea
진행이 되고
are
있다고 말씀을
propelled
드릴 수
like
있겠습니다.
this.
다음이요. 그래서 그 추진 전략에 기반해서
So based on these
2018년 초에
strategies, back in 2018,
국가
early
시범
2018, we started this national
선정이
smart city
됐습니다.
pilot project.
세종과
It was
보시다시피 부산 두
Sejong
군데의
and Busan,
국가 시범
the two
도시가
cities
선정이
will,
됐고요. 그래서
the cities were selected as
어떤
a
계획
national
없이
smart
백지
city
상태에서
pilot project.
새로운 4차 산업의
So
다양한
we
기술들을
started
가지고
with
시민들
a white
그다음에
paper,
도시의 기능을
and there were nothing, and
높일 수 있는 어떤
we
그 스마트한
we
도시들로
planned everything from
개발한다라고 하는 어떤
scratch,
그런
how
큰
to make
목적을 가지고
a big
두 개의
smart
국가
city.
시범
So
도시가
these were our
2018년에
two smart
선정이
cities
됐습니다. 그리고
designation in
2019년에
2018. In
각
2019,
지역에 대한 그런 마스터 플랜이 진행이 됐고요.
there were
지금은
master planning for each
특히 이제
areas.
세종 같은 경우에는
Now,
실시
on this
설계가
day,
진행이 되고
Sejong
있고
is going through
아마
city
조만간
planning.
다양한 서비스들이 구축이
And I
되고
believe we will
시민들한테
see more and more
시범적으로
services
운영하는
in
그런
the future,
서비스들이
and we will
진행이
have
될 계획이
pilot
있습니다.
services
그래서
for
두
the
도시
citizens
모두
as well.
2023년, 2024년
So the
목표를
two
두고
cities have the
지금 다양한
have
실시
the goals of
설계와 지금
2023
계획들이
and
추진 중이라고
2024,
말씀드릴 수
and
있을 것
again,
같습니다.
many plans are ongoing right now.
그래서 저희가 오늘 말씀을 드릴 그 중요한
So what I wanted to
그
mention today, what is important
세종
here
국가
is
시범 도시
the
그리고 스마트 스마트 모빌리티에 대한 부분들을 좀 말씀을 좀 드리면 특히 이제 국가 시범 도시 중에 특히 세종은 7개의 혁신 분야로 지금 되어 있습니다. 보시면 거기에 이제 모빌리티가 들어가 있고요. 헬스케어나 에듀케이션, 에너지, 잡 등을 포함한 7개의 혁신 요소들이 다음에요. 혁신 요소들이 현재
So these are
들어가
again
있고
the 7
특히
innovation
세종
factors.
국가 시범도시 같은 경우에는
And Sejong in
모빌리티가
particular,
좀 집중된 그런 도시라고 말씀드릴
we
수
are now
있을 것
focusing
같아요.
more on
그래서
mobility for
나름대로
Sejong City.
공유차 기반의 그런
So
도시를
we will be using
만들어보자.
shared
그리고 그
vehicles,
안에
and shared
자율주행
vehicles
셔틀이나
will be the
어떤
backbone, and with
다양한
the shuttles,
미래의
autonomous shuttles,
모빌리티를
and other
제공해
future
보자라고 하는 큰
mobilities will be
계획을 가지고
provided
현재
to the city
진행을
of
하고
Sejong.
있습니다.
So that
다음이요.
is where we are right now. Next, please.
세종 국가 시범도시에 지금
So this is a
그
Sejong
도시
National
디자인,
Pilot City.
얼반 플래닝
And this is the
컨셉이라고
urban
말씀드릴 수 있을 것
planning
같습니다.
concept of
보시면 중앙에 순환링이 있고요.
So
그런
you have a
순환링 내부에는
ring that goes
소유차
inside the
제한구역,
city,
자가용이 들어가지
circulation ring,
못하는 그런
and in
지역을
that
설정을
district
하였습니다.
there is
그래서 순환링
a
내부에
zone where no personal cars
시민들을
are
위한
allowed.
기존의
So
자동차에게
inside this circulation
돌아갔던
district,
그런 공간들을 이제
these
시민들한테
zones
돌려주는
are now
그런
given back
시민들에게
to the
보다
citizens
안전하고
without
보다
any
편리한
personal
그런
vehicles
환경으로
there,
만들기 위해서
so that the
순환링
citizens
내부에
can
소유차
enjoy
제한구역을 두었습니다.
the cleanliness.
그리고
So again, this
소유차
zone
제한구역
is
안에 있는
in the
시민들이 또
districts.
자유롭게 이동을 해야
And
되기
in that
때문에
zone,
그 안에
still
다양한
citizens have
뭐
to
퍼스널
have
모빌리티나 자율주행
various mobility
셔틀이나
options. So
아니면
many
도보나
personal
이런 여러
mobilities,
가지
shuttles, and
그
walking zone will
생태계를
be
그런 모빌리티
provided
환경을
as an
만들어주기 위한
ecosystem
계획들이
of
지금
mobility.
세워지고
So we are
있습니다.
still on our
그리고
planning status.
기본적으로 이 국가 시범 도시에는
And
자가용을
basically,
자가용 이용을 3분의 1로
personal cars will
감소시켜보자라고
be
하는 큰
reduced
비전을
by
가지고 지금
1/3.
접근을 하고
That
있어서
is our current
나름대로
vision right now.
도시계획 차원에서도
So
직주
urban
근접
planning point of view,
그래서 직장과 지금
the
머무는 어떤 그런
the
집이
distance of
근접하는
home
그런 형태로
and workplace will be
도시계획을
closer.
진행을 하고 있고
So that
향후에
is the
어떤
basis of
다양한
our
그런
urban
미래의
planning.
그런
And
모빌리티나
in the future,
다양한
we will
신기술들을
be
여기 국가 시범
able
도시
to
내에서 테스트해보자라고
include many
하는 그런
new mobility
테스트
ways
어떤 그런
and new
배드의 그런 역할들도 또한
things
동시에
in this test bed.
진행하고자 지금
So
준비를 하고 있습니다.
this is what
다음이요.
we're planning right now.
그래서 국가 시범 도시에
So
이제
in the
모빌리티와
national pilot
관련된
city,
그런 비전과 목표와
there are many
전략들을
visions related
말씀드리겠습니다.
to mobility.
그래서
So I will be
모빌리티는
more
국가
specific
시범
on that.
도시에는 아까 말씀드린 것처럼 소유차를 제한하고
So again, we
나름대로
will be
다양한 개인
banning
모빌리티나
2/3 of personal
친환경
cars
순환들을
and include
이용해서 움직이는
eco
것들을 기본
shuttles
개념으로
and
갖고
personal
있습니다.
mobility
그래서
devices other than cars.
되도록이면 자가용을 소유하지 않고도
So
자가용을
we would want to
가지고 이동하는
provide the
만큼의
same
모빌리티
mobility as
생태계를
having a personal
환경을
car
구축해주자라고 하는
in
게
this ecosystem.
비전입니다.
So that
그래서
is
이
our
비전을
vision.
이루기 위한 그런 다양한 핵심
And to
목표들이
fulfill that
있는데요.
vision, there are
보시면 첫 번째가
several
그 공유
pillars
모빌리티,
here.
쉐어링
First
모빌리티
is sharing
기반의
mobility based
자가용
personal
소유를
devices.
제한하는 어떤 시티로
And
만들어보자라는
again,
핵심
limiting
목표가 있고요.
the owning
두
of
번째는
the owning of personal cars.
자율주행 모빌리티,
Second is
오토메이티드
automated
모빌리티
mobility.
등에 기반한
So
나름대로
based on this
안전하고
automated mobility,
효율적인 그런
we will
통행을
provide
제공해보자라고 하는 게 두 번째
safe
그런
and effective
목표입니다.
mobility.
또 세 번째 목표로는
Our third
기존에
goal
있는 그런 다양한 수단들,
is
예를
to
들면
still
대중교통이나
use
PM이나
what
공유차나
we have
어떤
right
그런
now.
자가용 이외의 다양한 수단들을 통합해서
So we want to integrate
시민들에게
everything
출발과 목적지에 끊김없는
so
교통을
that we can
제공해보자라고
provide
하는 게 세
seamless
번째
mobility for the
목표고요.
citizens
네 번째는
from start to
교통약자나
a goal.
보행자들한테 보다
For
안전하고
mobility to the
편리한
more
환경을
vulnerable,
만들어보자라고
to give
하는
them
게
a more
네 번째
agreeable,
어떤 그런 큰
space
핵심
for
목표입니다.
them.
그래서 거기에 맞춘 모빌리티 서비스들이
And we will
뭐
come
쉐어링
up with more
모빌리티나
tailored
오토메이티드 모빌리티,
sharing and
그다음에
automated
인티그레이티드
mobility
모빌리티나
and integrated
교통약자를 위한
mobility,
다양한 안전
and
서비스들을
finally
지금
the
제공을
mobility for the
하려고
more
계획을
vulnerable.
수립
So
중에 있습니다.
actually we are at
다음이요.
our planning stage
그래서
right now.
국가 시범 도시에 여기는 모빌리티 서비스 아키텍처를 보여주고 있습니다.
So this is the
크게 이제
mobility
네
service
가지의
our
서비스 분야가
architecture of
있고요.
National Pilot City. We
9개의
have 6
모빌리티
service
서비스가
areas, 9
있고
mobility
그다음에
services,
19개의 그런 기능으로 지금
and
나누어져
19 service
있습니다.
functions.
보시면 퍼스널 모빌리티와
Here you can
관련된
see
부분들은
personal
나름대로
mobility related,
그 퍼스널 모빌리티 쉐어링과 관련된 부분,
sharings,
그다음에 카 쉐어링과
and
관련된
car sharing.
공유 중심의 그런 자동차
So this is
제공하는
based on
서비스를 제공하는
sharing
부분들이고요.
economy.
그냥 그룹 모빌리티는
And
그
next group
자율주행
mobility,
셔틀이나
we have
아니면
automated
그
shuttles
DRT (Demand Responsive 레스폰시브 트랜짓과 관련된 수요 대응 서비스가 지금 준비가 되고 있고, 그다음 모빌리티 인티그레이션은 유럽이나 미국의 마스라고 얘기하는 모빌리티 애저 서비스의 개념으로 인티그레이티드 모빌리티 개념으로 지금 준비가 되고 있습니다. 그다음에 뭐 스마트 주차나 아니면 인공지능 기반의 스마트
an
신호제어
AI-based
그리고
smart
시민들에게
traffic light
안전한
control,
보행 환경을
and again a safe
제공하기 위한
pedestrian
어떤 그
environment to
스마트
our
보행
citizens.
환경과
So
관련된 여러
this
가지
is
그런 부분들이
smart
지금
pedestrian safety
주요한
zone.
어떤 서비스로
And
지금
again,
현재
these are
들어가
our
있는
main
상태입니다.
services right
다음이요.
now. Next, please.
그래서 다음이요. 국가 시범 도시에 아까 말씀드린 그런 각각 서비스가 어떻게
And again,
지금
now let me talk
추진을
about
할
how
계획인지
the smart
그리고
mobility
서비스를 할
service
계획인지
in this
간략하게 좀
pilot city
말씀을 좀
is done
드리도록
and will
하겠습니다.
be done.
첫
I'll be
번째는
very
쉐어링
brief.
모빌리티 쪽입니다.
So first,
주요한
again,
서비스가
it's the sharing
카쉐어링과
mobility.
PM 쉐어링이 있고요.
You have car
보시면
and PM sharing here.
나름대로 뭐 많은 지자체나 많은
So
나라에서
many
도입을
local
하고 있는
governments
그런
are
PM과
already
관련된
using this,
부분들입니다.
and many
그래서
countries are using this
근거리나
PM right
아니면
now.
퍼스트 앤 라스트 마일
Short range
서비스를
and first and
제공하기
last
위해서
mile services
그리고
can be done
자가용을
through this,
소유하지 않는
and
환경으로
without owning a
만들 거기
personal
때문에
car,
좀
you can
다양한
do
어떤 개인
everything with
모빌리티를
this. So
저희가 제공해
again,
주자라고
we have
하는
to provide
목적으로 도입을
various
지금
numbers of
적극적으로 계획을 하고
mobility.
있고요. 특별히 국가
And
시범 도시에는
So
그런 교통약자들
especially in
그 다음에
the national pilot
나름대로
city,
그
again, like I mentioned, we will
날씨가
provide
어려운 그
mobility
환경이나
for the
좋지
more
않은
vulnerables.
환경에서도 움직일 수 있는 그
If
차폐형의 쉴드
the
형태의 그런
environment is even
PM을
when the
만들어서
environment is
공급할
not
계획을
favorable,
가지고
then
있습니다.
we will
그리고
provide
카쉐어링 같은
mobilities
경우에는
tailored to
한국에는
that.
현재 스테이션 기반 예를
And in
들면
Korea,
그
car sharing is done
공유차를
by
빌릴 수
station.
있는 그런 스테이션이
We have to
정해져
go to the
있습니다.
station and there
이용하는 그
rent
이용이
the
정해져
car.
있는
So
스테이션 기반으로 운영을 하고 있는데
stations
국가
are
시범
quite fixed
도시에서는
here, but in
프리 플로팅 방식으로
the national
PM과
pilot city, we will
비슷하게
provide free
노상이나
floating
아니면
car
제휴
sharing, just
주차장에
like PMs.
자유롭게
So in
세우고
the
그다음에
side of
자유롭게
the
이용할 수
roads,
있는
in
어떤
the shared
프리 플로팅
parking lots,
방식의
we can
어떤
use the
카쉐어링을
free
도입하기 위해서
floating
법
car
제도적인
sharing as
부분과
well.
같이
So we are now
해서
working on the
서비스를 제공할
regulations
계획을
so that
가지고
we can
있습니다.
provide
다음이요.
these kind of services.
그다음에 자율주행 셔틀과 관련된 부분입니다.
Next is automated shuttle.
지금 여기 지도에서 보시다시피
So on the map,
순환링이
you can see
있고
there's a
순환링
circular
안에는 소유자
ring,
제한 구역으로 되어
and
있기
inside the
때문에
ring you can
자가용이
see
들어가지 못한다고
the
말씀을
ban
드렸죠.
zone of
그래서
personal
이
cars.
순환링을 따라서
So
하루에
along
20시간
this
이상 아침부터 밤
circulation
늦은
ring, more
시간까지
than for
이런
20
자율주행
hours
셔틀이
of the day,
지속적으로 운영을 할
the
계획을
automated
가지고
shuttle
있습니다.
will be
그래서 현재
running.
한 6인승에서 12인승
So right
정도의
now it's
그런
6
크기로
to 12
자율주행
passenger
셔틀이
vehicles,
지금
the automated
개발이 되고
shuttle.
있고요.
We are now
제작이 되고
developing.
있습니다. 그래서 순환링을 따라서
So again,
다음으로
along the ring,
순환링을 따라서 지속적으로 자율주행 셔틀이
this
운영을 할
automated
계획을
shuttle
갖고
will
있고 그리고
constantly run
특히 그
along the
순환링
ring.
내부에 자율주행 셔틀은
And
대중교통의
inside the
역할을
ring,
하기 때문에
the shuttle will
나름대로
be
고정식으로
used
아니면
as
수요
a
대응용으로
as a shared
자율주행 셔틀을
mobility as well.
운행을 할 계획을
So this
가지고
is
있습니다.
again our plan.
다음이요.
Next page, please.
또 다른 그 주요한 서비스 중에 하나가
And another
그
important
보통은
service is
마스라고 얘기하는
something
인티그레이티드
called
모빌리티,
MAS.
통합
It
모빌리티
is integrated
서비스입니다.
mobility
그래서
service.
국가 시범 도시를 출입하는 그런 다양한
So
민간
there
그런
should be
수단들, 그 다음에 공공
many
수단들, 뭐
means that
지하철이나
enter the
버스나
national
이런 걸
pilot
다
city,
포함해서 그
including subways and
도시에
bus.
이용 가능한 모든 수단들을 하나로
We have to
통합하고
integrate
그런
all
정보를
means that
통합하고
enters the city
그다음에
as well.
통합해서 예약하고 지불하고 결제해서
And the payment should
편리하게
be
이용자가
integrated as well,
출발부터 목적지까지
so that the
이동
users
가능하게
can
그리고 그게
easily
스마트폰이나
reach
하나의
their
그런
destination.
그
And
우리가
that also
활용하는
would
그런
be
스마트폰 기반으로 해서
based on
이용
our
가능하게
smartphones as
편리하게
well.
이용 가능할 수 있도록 그런 통합 모빌리티 계획을 지금
So this is
수립을
our
하고
plan
있습니다.
here
다음이요.
for more easy mobility.
또 다른 주요한 서비스 중에
Another
하나가 수요
important
대응형
service is
서비스입니다.
demand responsive transit service.
기존에는 정해진 노선,
So in the
그다음에
past,
정해진
we
정류장,
had to follow
정해진 스케줄에 따라서
existing schedule,
대중교통이 운행을
existing
했었었는데
bus
국가
lines.
시범 도시에서는
But in
나름대로
this city,
대중교통이
in the
소외된 지역이
pilot
있습니다.
city,
소외된 지역이나
of course,
또
there are
대중교통이 소외된
zones
시간들,
with
예를 들면 새벽
low
시간이나 밤
mobility,
늦은 시간이나
more vulnerable
아니면 대중교통
mobility,
이용하기
or
어려운
in
약자들,
night times,
뭐 노인분들이나 장애자분들이나
or the
어린이들,
elderly, or
어떤
the
그런
physically
분들을
challenged.
대상으로 한 그런
for
수요
them,
대응형,
we want
시민들의
to
어떤 니즈에
provide the
의해서
demand
움직여가는
responsive
그런
transit service
DRT
that
수요 대응형
follows their
서비스를
needs.
준비를 하고
So we are
있습니다.
also preparing
그래서
the DRT
어떤 뭐
service here.
다양한 어떤 수단의 형태로 지금 계획을 하고 있고
So it can
다양한
be
시간대와 다양한
many
어떤 그런 소외 계층과
means of
다양한 소외 지역을
transportation to
대상으로
address
서비스하는
these
부분들에
remote areas
대해서
and
지금
the
계획을 수립을 하고 있는 중이라고 말씀드릴 수
and the
있겠습니다.
mobility underprivileged.
다음이요. 다음은 어떻게 하면 그 시민들에게 보행자들에게 조금 더 안전한 그런 보행 공간 어떤 그런 그 공간으로 지금 제공할 것과 관련된 부분들인데요. 보시다시피 밑에 보면 이제 스마트 횡단보도와 관련돼서 나름대로 보행 환경을 그 안전하게 하기 위한 그런 다양한 스마트 횡단보도 서비스가 지금 계획을 하고 있고요. 그리고 나름대로 지금 그 도로상에 주로 이제 그 신호 교차로 불합리한 신호 계획이나 어떤 신호 운영으로 인해서 생기는 다양한 어떤 그런 지체나 정체를 해소하기 위한 인공지능 기반의 어떤 스마트 신호 제어 관련된 부분들도 저희가 지금 계획을 하고 있는 중입니다. 아까 말씀드린 그런 다양한 서비스들을 하기 위해서 국가 시범도시에서는 모빌리티 플랫폼, 통합 모빌리티 플랫폼을 지금 만들고 있는 중이고요. 거기에 교통과 관련된 실시간 다양한 그 정보들이 수집이 되어지고 거기에서 시민들이 원하는 그런 형태로 서비스를 하기 위해서 나름대로의 어떤 그런 운영과 관리와 어떤 그런 서비스를 제공하기 위한 그런 플랫폼이 지금 계획이 되고 있고 이 모빌리티 플랫폼은 향후에 도시의 모든 기능을 관리하고 운영하는 오픈 시티 데이터 허브의 데이터 허브 쪽으로 연계되도록 지금 계획이 되어 있습니다. 그리고 다양한 그 모빌리티 서비스를 하기 위해서는 나름대로 거기에 부합하는 그런 공간 계획도 같이 이루어져야 됩니다. 그래서 뭐 스페이스 디자인이나 레인 얼로케이션이나 횡단 구성이나 이런 부분과 관련돼서도 나름대로 지금 같이 교통과 도시 계획이 같이 어울러가는 형태로 지금 계획이 되고 있고요. 그래서 뭐 다양한 쉐어링 비클들을 수용할 수 있는 그런 디자인이나 아니면 PM을 위한 어떤 그런 충전 인프라나 어떤 그런 파킹 스페이스와 관련된 부분들도 계획이 되고 있고 자율주행 셔틀을 나름대로 전용 도로를 저희가 전용 공간을 두어서 이렇게 하는 그런 자율주행 셔틀을 위한 전용 공간들도 지금 설계를 같이 하고 있고 PM과 또 사람과의 어떤 그런 나름대로 그런 컨플릭트나 그런 것들을 최소화하기 위해서 나름대로 이렇게 완충할 수 있는 완충 어떤 그런 공간들도 마련하는데 다양한 스페이스 디자인도 같이 추진을 하고 있다고 말씀드릴 수 있겠습니다. 마지막으로 그 리빙랩과 관련된 부분을 좀 말씀드리겠습니다. 사실은 아까 말씀드린 국가 시범도시가 2023년 3월에 지금 오픈이 되고 입주가 될 계획이기 때문에 지금 2022년입니다. 그래서 나름대로 국가 시범도시 5-1 생활권과 비슷한 환경이나 모빌리티 형태를 갖고 있는 지역을 다른 생활권에서 저희가 찾아서 직접 시민들에게 국가 시범도시에 도입될 그 다양한 모빌리티 서비스들을 체험케 하고 그다음에 미리 사람들의 수용성을 또 이렇게 조사하고 또 다양한 니즈들을 반영해서 국가 시범도시의 가장 최적인 서비스로 제공하기 위해서 나름대로 스마트 모빌리티 리빙랩을 구축을 하고 있는 중입니다. 그래서 보시면 리빙랩을 하게 된 가장 큰 목적은 나름대로 자율주행 셔틀이나 어떤 마스나 이런 최신 그런 신기술들이 과연 시민들이 받아들일 수 있는 수용할 수 있는 그런 형태로 서비스가 될 수 있는지 그리고 그런 기술적인 그런 안전성이 있는지 그다음에 기술들이 최적인 그런 운영으로 시민들에게 제공될 수 있을지 그와 관련된 그런 다양한 실험들을 해보기 위해서 직접 시민들과 함께 그런 리빙랩을 만들고 시민들이 체험하고 그래서 다양한 시민들의 의견을 받아서 결국은 국가 시범도시 5-1에 들어갈 때는 그런 최적인 서비스 형태로 들어가기 위한 계획을 지금 리빙랩을 재작년부터 지금 시작을 해서 진행을 하고 있는 중입니다. 그래서 말씀드린 대로 세종 1생활권의 그런 리빙랩을 저희가 보시는 그 8가지 서비스에 대해서 지금 계획을 세우고 구축을 하고 있는 중이고 그리고 많은 시민들을 또 시민 참여단에 포함하기 위해서 저는 다양한 루트를 통해서 시민들에게 홍보하고 또 시민 체험단을 지금 모으고 있는 중이라고 말씀드릴 수 있을 것 같습니다. 그래서 아까 서두에 말씀드린 PM부터 시작해서 자율주행 셔틀이나 그리고 스마트 시그널 컨트롤이나 이 8가지 서비스에 대해 직접 지금 구축을 하고 있는 중이고요. 이 생활권 내에 그리고
now being
시민들에게 그것들을
implemented
직접 체험케 하고
and make
다양한
the
의견을
citizens
받는 것들을
experience
지금
these as well, and
진행하고
we are
있는
getting
중이라고
their
말씀드릴 수 있을
opinions.
것 같습니다.
So that's where we
마지막으로
are.
보시면 지금 다양한 그 시민들과
And here you
함께
can see
다양한
we are
활동들을 지금
now
하고
doing
있는
a
중이고요.
lot
뭐
of things with the
출범식부터
actual citizens.
시작해서
So
다양한
we had
그
the starting ceremony,
워크숍 활동들을
and we
통해서
had several
시민들이
workshops
각 서비스에
to
대해서
actually listen
바라는
to the
점들,
citizens,
요구
what
사항들에
they want,
대해서도 지금 계속 저희가
what they feel.
의견을 받고 있는
Still, we are
중이고
collecting
그리고
their opinions
보시면
as well.
야외에서의 다양한 활동들을 하고
And
있습니다.
we are doing
PM을
outdoor
직접
activities
체험해보거나
as well. They are
자율주행
experiencing
셔틀을
the
또
personal mobilities.
체험해서
They are
거기서 또
riding
다양한
the
의견들을
actual
또
autonomous shuttles.
수렴하는 어떤 그런 과정들을
And
통해서
we are collecting their
궁극적으로는
ideas and
국가 시범
opinions.
도시 특히 이제
And
모빌리티와 관련해서는
in the end, when
다양한
it comes
의견들
to
시민들과
mobility,
함께하는
we
그런
need the
협의체를
citizens'
통해서 의견들을 받고
opinions. So we are
그래서
collecting
직접
these
그
opinions right
오다시
now
생활권에 가장 최적의 형태로
and
도입하기
try
위한
to
다양한
figure out
노력들이
what
지금
the
진행되고
citizens
있다라고
need the most. So
말씀드릴
that
수
is
있을 것
what we are
같습니다.
doing right now.
예, 이상으로
So that was my
발표를
presentation.
마치도록
Thank you very
하겠습니다.
much for
감사합니다.
listening. Thank you.
네, 고맙습니다.
Thank you.
지금 우리나라에서 국가 시범도시로
Right now
진행하고
in
있는
Korea,
스마트
we
시티의
have
스마트
a Sejong City
모빌리티의
as
세부적인
a
내용이
pilot of a smart
어떠한지에
city,
대해서
and that was a good opportunity to
우리가 좀
listen
이해를 좀 깊이
to
하게 되었습니다.
all the
이 스마트
details.
모빌리티라는 게 절대로 이제 그 어떤 특정한 수단의 도입만으로는
Smart
되지 않고
mobility
더불어서
can be
인프라
possible
개선도
with the
병행이
sole
되어야
effort or
가능함을
any
우리가 알 수 있었습니다.
single
자,
establishment of
그러면은
equipment or infrastructure.
2부
That was a good
토론의
opportunity to
사장은
remind
우리 연구원의
ourselves.
문영준
Now we would like
단장님께서
to
맡아주시겠습니다. 앞으로
invite
나오시고요.
Dr. Moon
그리고
Young-jun,
국내에서
Center Director
참여하시는 토론자가
for Center of the
LGCNS
SOC
인상 학무님,
Digitalization Research.
그리고
And the
UDI의
panel
최정윤 대표님,
discussants
그리고 제주연구원의 손상훈
include
우리
Mr. Kim
박사님께서 오셨습니다.
Jae-yeol,
다
Yu
나오셔서
In-sang, and Son
토론자
Sang-hun from
자리를
Korean side. And please
자리에
come
착석해 주시면
to
고맙겠습니다.
your seat
그리고
to prepare for our panel discussion.
국외에서 지금
Internationally, we have
메하페 앤드류 HMI 테크놀로지의
Mr. Mehafe Andrew from
본부장이신
New South Wales HMI Technologies
앤드류께서 참여하실 예정이고요. 오티코의 타마라
and
두킥
Tamara Dukik
시니어
from
매니저 그리고
Abico
후지츠의 김재열
as a senior manager.
매니저님 그렇게 준비되어 있습니다. 자 그러면은 마이크를 문영준 우리
And now I would like to
단장님께
hand over my
넘기고
microphone to
가능하면은
Director
5시
Moon.
반까지 마칠 수 있도록
And
그렇게
let's try to
부탁드리겠습니다.
finish it
고맙습니다.
within 55
네,
minutes.
반갑습니다.
Thank you.
문영준입니다.
My name is Moon Young-jun.
I'm going to first introduce our the guest from the worldwide. Andrew, you there? Could you open your the?
Can you see me?
Yeah. Could you open your screen and?
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I hear you. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, good evening.
Nice to see you, Dr. Moon.
Yes, good evening. And also I'm going to call to Tamara.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
I can see you too well.
Okay, good morning, right? It's still morning,
Morning.
right? Is correct?
Yes, absolutely. Good morning.
Good morning. And also I'm going to call to Dr. Kim Jae-yeol, who's in Japan.
예, 들립니다.
Okay, good afternoon. All right, and we have three the discussants from worldwide, and thank you so much for the participating in our discussion. Okay, so before starting the discussion, I'm going to ask a very quick question to Dr. Kim, who is making the keynote speaking. Okay, and I'm going to ask you that because we have to go to the smart mobility in a smart city, which means the opposite meaning of stupid mobility, living in stupid city. Okay, so we have to be smart. Then, which means, based on your the presentation, I say my guess is I believe how we make an evaluation of this smart city or smart mobility to be successfully settled down to the people. So my criteria is going to be could we change the people's the trip behavior or trip pattern or their travel the pattern to change, not to their utilize not to their passenger vehicle every day, but to utilize new mobility services. As you mentioned that shared and personal or automated shuttle or whatever the case may be. Then what kind of the criteria? My guess is how we reduce our transport mode choice. In case of conventional city, we have more than 40 or 50% of the people to utilize their passenger car. But in case in the smart city you they build up, then what percentage you can reduce? What is your target? Okay, it's a very simple one. Yeah. I guess. Could you take microphone? Yeah. You're gonna be here, in a. So this is starting question, for making a discussions successfully. Okay.
Hello again. 스마트 시티에서의 스마트 모빌리티.
So smart
사실은
mobility in
스마트 모빌리티 역할이
a smart
나름대로
city. So
시민들에게 어떤 그
when it comes
편리한
to the citizen,
사실은
it should give
우리
the
타깃은
citizens
승용차를 이용하는
convenience.
사람들보다는
So our target is
수용차 이외의
not
그런 다양한
people
수단들을
using
예를 들면
passenger
퍼스널
cars
모빌리티
more
아니면
than that,
도보
personal mobility,
아니면은 그 외
or
대중교통
other
어떤 그런
public mobilities as
그
well.
승용차 이외의
So other
다양한
than
수단들을 이용하는
passenger
사람들이
cars,
어떻게
people
하면 조금 더
use
편리하게
other
안전하게
passenger cars, how
어떤
to give
그런
them
환경에서
safety
이동할
and
수
how to
있을지
give them
그런 부분들
convenience
사실 많이
with
고민을 하고
a
있고요.
new sense of mobility as well. So
궁극적으로
that's what we're doing.
이러한 목적이
So
어떤 도시를
potentially,
조금 더
what's the goal is to make
안전하고
the city a
조금
safer
더
place.
환경적으로
Is to
친환경적으로
make the city a
그다음에
more environmental
나름대로
place, a
도시가
greener place.
원래 가져야 되는
And so
기능들을
that
어떤 인커리지할 수 있는 그런 방법이라고
encourage
생각을 합니다. 그리고 그
what
가운데
the city
과연
have to
시민들이
And in that sense,
처음에는 어렵겠지만
so in the
처음에는
beginning, it
자가용이나
might be
소유차를 버리는
a little
것들이
bit more difficult
어렵겠지만
to the citizens.
어떤
They have to
그러한
ditch their
편리한
personal
환경,
cars.
조금
Of
더
course, we know that.
나은 그
But
모빌리티
we have to know
환경을
that we are
제공하면
headed to a better
아마
mobility, and we are giving
미래적으로는
this better
그런
mobility
수용차
for
이외의
them. So
다양한 수단들을 통해서
in the future,
도보와
the
포함해서
citizens will not
수단들을
use
이용해서
personal
이동을 할
vehicles,
수
and
있을
they
거라고
will use
생각하고
alternative
궁극적으로 그런
mobility
것들이
as well.
되게
So that
되면
is our potential
지금보다는
goal.
자가용 이용률이
So the
국가 시범
usage
도시는 3분의 1을 줄이는 게 목표입니다.
personal
3분의 1을
cars,
줄이는 게
again, the
목표인데
pilot
그런
city,
식으로
we
나갈 수
aim
있지
at
않을까
cutting
생각합니다.
the use of personal
Okay,
car by
so you
one
just
third.
they say just 1/3 of the reduction, but you don't provide any kind of very the sharp the number. What I want to have some from your answer. But anyway, it's okay. So, Andrew, let me start my question to you first, just like common one. Okay, so see what Dr. Kim is presented. Okay, Kim presented in Korean smart city and smart mobility is going to be the city is new build up. Okay, at this moment nobody they're living in the city. It's a starting point of the build up. But if they are trying to be the stayed in the city, they have to take some new mobility services, just like the Dr. Kim provided. Okay, so which among these kind of services, new mobility services, which one will be most attractive to the people to take kind of services on the day, in case. For example, if you were there, okay, what kind of service will be mostly attractive to you?
Yeah, okay, thank you, Dr. And thank you for the opportunity to participate in this forum. Looking at what you're doing in Sejong, many people all around the world would be very envious that you are able to do this. Start from basically a blank page and design a city for mobility using all of the latest ideas and technologies. And that is a really unique thing, and I think that's a wonderful thing to be involved with. We in Australia had a similar situation to design from the ground up, fully planned city, but that was over 100 years ago. That was a city called Canberra, and it was carefully designed from the ground up back then in 1913. So you're doing something similar here, but using much more modern technology. You asked what is the most attractive piece of technology that you're talking about here, but I think it is all part of a whole package, and it all has to work together or it all falls apart. And I think that while you need to look after people's personal objectives, the real thing is about the good of the whole thing. So while yes, look, using shared services and changing between modes and using more personal mobility and things like that may introduce minor inconvenience for some people. But I think that it's essential that people get used to using these types of things and use the unique ability that you have to make them all work nice and integrate in an integrated way and nice and smoothly together. And it can be a really wonderful thing, I think. So, and the other thing that you talked about there was around not forgetting about the disabled and elderly, the vulnerable people. And it's all very well to have I go to places where people talk about everyone should be using active transport, should be walking everywhere, should be riding scooters everywhere, and these sorts of things, by riding their bikes. But people have to remember that not everyone can do that. You know, while it's all very well for, you know, 2/3 of the population to walk a kilometre, for a reasonable number of the population, they can't do that. It's not that simple. They can't just walk to the shops, these sorts of things. So all of these services need to be aligned with these types of things as well. So make sure that these shuttle vehicles, the demand responsive transport is essential for these types of people, and the ability for them to safely board and disembark and direct the vehicles to go where they need to go is all very important. So, you know, different pieces of it are very attractive to me, but I think as a whole package that's what it needs to be. Thank you. Now, and the living lab that you have is another perfect thing to be able to try things out in a controlled environment, get some of your people to actually experience these things and provide feedback before they go into the real city. That is another really valuable thing. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Okay, so you love whole package of the all services. I think you'd better to live, move to Korea, okay, to live here in Jeju City, okay. So this whole package will be realized in the city within 5 years. Okay, all right. Tamara, you hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, I'm gonna give you some the very similar questions that what I gave to Andrew. That what is going to be most attractive, and also in case in European countries, what kind of services will be more possibly realized within 5 years in case of the cities in Europe?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. For example, I saw that the DRT services like demand responsive transport is something that really takes a big adoption in Europe, and you can recognize as something that is really spreading as a service that should complement the public transport system. So it's not something that should jeopardize to move the people and the shift to make a mode shift from the public transport, but to design the DRT to support existing public transport system. And you can see really this one already active in a majority of the cities in Europe. And we learn a lot from the pilots of those services. And DRT services also, you will find a different value chain design, how they are designed, how they are performed, because they are designed for specific users groups. So when you work now in the new design of the living lab or the new design of the city, it's very important to understand the user's needs. What are the key value indicators? What are their habits? What type of trips and they are making, to understand the real demand they drive, and to create that type of change in their demand and behavior, why they move, and to have a clear understanding. I completely agree here with Andrew, like trial. Try to collect more information from the ground field to understand the user's needs and the behavior. And this is a very good starting point, because DRT services can be designed, for example, for specific targeted user groups, like older people, for the people who live in specific neighborhoods, who are using more often, for example, the hospital services, and then you can provide different DRT services that will meet their needs. You can also design different DRT services who are comparing or maybe doing collective transport for the employees of specific areas where they have to travel and make the long trips. So you can organize specific DRT service for such user categories. And additional information that I recognize, it's very beneficial when you start working from the redesign and from the urban planning perspective, are incentives and the policies that should complement design of those services. So it's not only to have technology enabler there to provide and to move the people from point A to point B, but it's also very important to have very good policies and incentives that will complement and support existing technologies. One of the examples, for example, in Europe, what we do completely in Barcelona, it's a quite good example for that one, is the very famous superblocks design now, where the part of the area that was dedicated to the cars is completely reduced. It's almost 300 kilometers reduced from the cars and taken out and given to cycling, to walking paths and areas, and it's completely redesigned. And also all the possible services for the citizens in terms of the cinemas, in terms of the entertainment, the gyms, etc. It's everything is available almost in the range of 300, 500 meters. So you can almost kind of fully live, walk, and breathe, being in a green environment in such area. And one of the incentives also implemented here is also reduction of the parking lots. So if you buy a flat in specific neighborhood, you don't get awarded anymore 2 parking lots per flat, right? Or the one. That was the kind of rule. So this is something reduction. When you have reduction of the parking lots available for each household, then you motivate also people to use more shared mobility services. So this is the kind of my suggestion to keep in mind, apart from the technology enablers that you are having, and they're very impressive, it should be very good and well-designed a policy that will encourage and support this technology adoption by the users.
All right, thank you so much. As you say, we're trying to figure out or to find out the users' needs in the city. Okay, so that will be discussed in the to be the next round of my discussions. And then before that, I'm going to ask the Korean discussant in Korean. Okay, 유인상 우리 상무님.
네네.
이게 사실 이제 스마트시티가 이렇게 소위 모빌리티 중심으로 재편되고 했을 때 이 민간업계 입장에서는 어떤 서비스가 가장 시민들에게 다가갈 수 있는 서비스냐, 그리고 이거를 정말 실현 가능하게 해서 LG 입장에서도 어떤 일종의 사업화 모델이 될 수 있느냐 하는 차원에서 한번 좀 의견을 좀 주시죠.
우리가
지금 아까 우리 김태형 박사님이 수많은
As
프라이빗
Dr. Kim
그 모빌리티를 설명을
mentioned,
하시고
talked about a lot
그다음에
of
이제
private
우리
mobility.
전에 말씀하셨던 패널분들도 퍼블릭
And as
트랜스포트를 어떻게
mentioned,
잘 보완해가지고
public
인티그레이션 할 거냐의
transportation
문제인데요.
can be
전체
restructured
모달
to
중에 어떤 것이
integrate,
가장 어트랙티브하냐를
and which
얘기를
mode is
하는
most
것이 아니다.
attractive.
제가 이렇게 말씀드릴 수 있고요.
I want to say that
세종의
question is actually wrong.
그것을 여하이 그 시민들에게
We
어떻게 인티그레이션 시켜서
can integrate
단일하게 가장 편리하게 제공할 것이냐가
all
가장
these
중요하다
elements
이렇게
to provide the
말씀드립니다.
best
두 번째는
most convenience for the
쉽게 얘기하면 그
citizens.
중에서 모빌리티 애저 서비스가 가장 중요하다.
And mobility as a service is the
또한
most
모빌리티 애저
important.
서비스가 성공하기 위해서는
And to
시민
have a
입장에서 이게
successful
심리스하게 단일한 앱에서
smart
단일하게
city,
예약되고 단일하게
we need
운영돼야
some
된다 이렇게 말씀드릴
seamless
수 있겠습니다.
services.
그 중에서도 사실
And
가장
among
중요한 걸 뭘로
all the
보냐면 세종은
technologies, I will
대중교통
say
중심의 도시를 지향했지만은 지금 대중교통
used
중심이
to
아니라 다
pursue
개인 자가용 중심의 도시로 아직
public transportation
머물러
centric
있거든요. 진화되지
policies, but
못했단
not right
말이에요.
now.
그리고
It's all
아까 공간적
about the
설계
passenger
측면에서도
car
소유차를 못 갖게 오게
in
한다는
Sejong.
것은 그런 측면에서 보완제가 필요하다 이렇게 말씀드릴 수
So
있겠고요.
we
실체적으로는 저는
need some
프라이빗
supporting
모빌리티 간에
policies.
또는 프라이빗
And
모빌리티와
between
퍼블릭
private
모빌리티
mobility
간의
and public
환승에
mobility,
여하의 그 부분에 어떻게 시민들에게
we need
베네핏을
some
전달해 줄
sort
수
of
있느냐가 가장 중요하다.
a bridge.
18년 전에 저희가 티머니를
18 years
만들었을
ago,
때
we created a
티머니의 성공
T-money,
요인은
and it was
지하철과 버스의
successful
환승 할인이
because
있었거든요.
there
이번에
was a
우리가
seamless
말하고 하자는 통합 모빌리티
transition between
마스에서 세종의 새로운
bus
모빌리티 인티그레이션에서 가장 중요한 부분은
subway.
퍼블릭과
So
프라이빗 간의
between public and
환승 할인
private,
제도가 18년 전에 그 성공 체험을 좀 더 어드밴스된 모델로 제공하는 것이 가장
we
중요한
can
포인트다 이렇게 보고요. 그것을
think
시민들이
of
가장 큰
some
베네핏으로 갖고
bridge
그래야지만
which
시민들이
can
차를 내가
help
소유하지
bring
않아도
some
되는구나.
benefits to the
또는
citizens
공유의
of a
레벨을
smart
넘어서서
city.
이제 내가
And
구독을 해도
going
되겠구나.
beyond the sharing
그래서
services,
소유에서
maybe we
공유로
can
공유에서
move
구독으로
on to the
넘어가는 그런
subscription
과정을
services
저희가 이제 세종에서
after going
구현하고자 하는
beyond
것이다
the
이렇게 말씀드릴 수 있겠습니다.
after going
그렇다면
beyond the
충분히
sharing
그게
services.
그
So
BM으로
do you
비즈니스
believe that
모델로 LG 입장에서는
you
투자해서
can do some
일종의 베네핏을
benchmark
그이 프로핏을 이렇게
from
얻을 수 있는
Sejong Smart City
충분한 비즈니스
to bring
모델로 가능하다고
benefits?
보세요.
전국
Do you
모델로
believe
확산돼야 됩니다,
LG
박사님. 왜냐하면
should
세종에 지금 37만 명 정도
take-
살고 계시거든요.
Well, Sejong
37만 명의
has
인트라시티 내에서 인티그레이션
about
되는 시스템 구축비가 우리가 흔히
170,000
말하는 고정비
people, and we
카펙스가
need to
전체 서비스를 이용하는 그 이용자 37만
expand
명
that service
가지고는 끝도 없고요.
nationwide, and
다만
it's too
그런
small to
서비스를 지금
decide.
부산에 있는 국가 시범
And
도시도
in
서울도
Busan, we
지금 같이
also
그리고
have
있거든요.
some
티머니가
pilots
그 서울만 예를
section.
들어서 시스템을
And let's
구축했다 그러면
say
지금처럼 성공을 못하고
the T-money
해외도 못
again,
나갔겠지만
it was a
지금
nationwide
대부분의 일단
services,
2천만
so
건
it's too
이상의
early to
트랜잭션을 일으키는
decide
전국의
whether
싱글 플랫폼
Sejong
같이
case is
같이 쓰고 있는
successful
것을 이렇게
or not.
말씀드리고 다만 그 안에서
So
얻는 프로핏은 모빌리티
but still, the
오퍼레이터들이 같이
profit
쉐어하는 것이다.
that we
이렇게
gain from the
민간
smart
사업자
city should
하나가
be
그
shared
전체를
with
프로핏을 쉐어하는
all
것이
the
아니고
stakeholders
환승
instead of
할인을
one
통해서
or two
시민에게 돌려주고
stakeholders.
개별
So, for
모빌리티를
example,
운영하던
if you
그
do some
사람들에게
transition
오퍼레이터들에게
between
수익이
the public
분배되는 것이다 이렇게
transportation,
말씀드릴 수 있겠습니다.
between subway or
최 대표님,
cars, and you can
최
think of
대표님은 이제
the way
그
to share some
세종시나 이런
benefits.
도시의 정책적인 비즈니스 모델
So what about you,
컨설팅을 많이 해주고
CEO
있는데
Che? You are surely
이런
doing many
스마트 시티
consultings
모델이
to
또
Sejong City.
우리
So what do you
모빌리티
think about
모델이
this smart city model,
정말로
the smart
시민들에게
mobility model?
정착될
Do
수
you
있는
think
모델이냐?
actually
시민들이
citizens
과연
can
아까도 잠깐 얘기했지만 시민들의
actually
니즈를
be
정확히
happy
우리가
with that? Are we
짚어주는 것이냐 하는
are we
차원에서
knowing
그리고
their
또 하나는
needs,
시민들이
what they
과연
need? And another
일종의
question: if the
컴플라이언스 레벨,
citizens
그러니까
reach
수능도
a certain compliance
시민들의 또는
level,
그 억셉턴스 레벨,
or their
시민들이 수용성 있게
acceptance
다가와줄
level,
거냐 이 서비스를
whether
그
the citizens
채택할 거냐
will
하는
actually
차원에서
accept
그 어떤
that.
방법과 어떤 모델로
So,
접근해야
what is the
되는지
modality?
그거에
What is
대한
the
좀
model
comment 주시면
that
좋겠습니다.
we have to use? Please comment on that.
중요한
That was
질문이
a very
사실은 우리한테
important
숙제와
question.
현재 상황에 대한
Your
얘기를
question actually
문 박사님이
means
정확하게
everything
이해를 하고
for us.
계셔서
What we
질문하신
have to
같이
do. So
느껴지는데요.
actually, I
사실은
I
이제
felt that you are
그
understanding this very well.
스마트
So actually, to
시티라고
answer
하는
that,
게
when we talk about the
기술이나
smart
과학이나 4차 산업이
city,
들어오면서
it started when
전
the fourth
세계적인
industrial
많은
revolution has
시민들,
started, and
국민들,
many
이
citizens
실사용자들이
worldwide, worldwide users,
이해도에 대한 격차가
there
너무 크다고
the
생각을
gap
해요.
of the compliance
용어
went up
그리고 사용하는 방법
because the
이런
terminology, the way
것들이. 근데
they
우리
use, the
기술은
gap is widening.
상파되어 있기 때문에 계속
But our
진도해
technology
나가고 있죠. 진화해 나가니까
continuously
하나도
evolve
익숙하게
itself.
이해되지 못한 상태에서
So
계속적인 서비스만
citizens may
얘기하니까
not
그
understand it well, but there's new services always. So the gap is very, very wide. They cannot accept that.
안착되기가 쉽지 않다는
So
거죠. 지금
it
이제 무슨
cannot settle
얘기냐면
very well.
리빙랩이라고 하는
So
걸
talk about
굉장히
living lab.
중요한 단어가
That's an
전 세계적으로
important
휩쓸고 있다는 생각이 드는데
word
기술도 실험을
that
하고
is
있고
storming
시민도
the
국가도
globe.
모두가
But
지금
again, the technology,
실험 상태다.
everything is just testing. The citizens are just testing.
자,
So everyone
그러면
thinks
어떻게
it's
해야
just
되겠냐 생각했을 때
the
저는
test. So what we have to do,
경험을
thinking about that,
줬던 경험을 하면서 느낀 게
from my
엔지니어가
experience, as I'm not an engineer, I'm just an urban planner. So I actually suffered with the citizens. I thought with the citizens. So what I think is that we have to step for the living lab step by step. Because when we talk about the technology, it says that the technology can do this, but it takes time to penetrate to every citizens. So this we have to think about how to go universal, how to deal with the underprivileged. But now we're talking all the services, all the technologies. We have to think about, are they well prepared? Another question should be, then after that, if the citizens don't have much understanding, they can still demand for even unthinkable policy requests, and we cannot accept everything like that. How to arbitrate among them? We are just not prepared for anything. Technology-wise, today I heard about AVs, safety, because it's related to our living. But we imagine like in movies. So EVs became a little bit realistic, but not with autonomous vehicles. When it comes to passengers, for the passengers to walk safely and to give them this smart environment, how much are we prepared for that? This is what I want to ask. So in Sejong, for example, they will be starting the construction soon, and we are doing this enormous test. It's just starting. So talking about mass service and other parts of the technology, we can't just say we are starting this on 5-1. No, we have to say we are starting our testing. So before that, we have to know what the citizens are thinking. We have to know that exactly well, and we have to learn. We have many people from the academia, and we have people from LG, of course. They have viewed this technology, but again, it's you said 370,000. But you have to think about that. You can't just say, oh, this will do or that will do or not. So this gap, we have to think about how we can close this gap. So we have to think about this gap also. Yes, gap, you really talk about this gap. I agree. So another question, an add-on question. Then, CEO Che, I'm asking again to you. So we think that will eventually be a success, but step by step, how can we know whether it's a success or not? Or how can we know where we are headed, where we should be headed? So that's what I think. So what's your opinion on that? So that's another important thing to say. So, for example, if a single citizen wants to do something very safely, it will take time. To be frank with you, it will take time. So there should be some intermediary, coordinator, facilitator, or some technologies and stakeholders. We have to think about what they want and our goal. We have to think about our goal. And we have to have step-by-step questions and make the citizens grow. And if they think that it will be good for them, then they will start to spread the word. But again, we are seeking answers for too many things. So again, like I said, we need steps, we need processes. For example, in Sejong, for Sejong Smart City, we have to have a citizens group that can do studies together. Why? Because it's all related to our living. So we have to do conversions with its technologies. We have to make a safe society. We cannot leave citizens behind. So that should be different. If they know nothing, they will just know nothing. We have to pick some people, just like what Director Moon said. Even you and with the companies, with the citizens, we have to share. We have to share what we're thinking. And maybe, I guess, we will have some partial success. Thank you very much.
Dr. Son, I will ask the last question because he's highly related to Jeju.
You heard, right? Our discussion in Korean, but maybe you got the fully understand what some the translating situation is correct. Yes. Tamara, I'm gonna ask you first. So because we have new technology, okay, to be implemented in our city to the people, but we have to change our people's the behavior based on new technology to be adopted. Okay, so that's because we have the pros and cons in case, right? And as you know, Ms. Choi has already mentioned that in case while the implementation, we figure out, we understand the gap still on there. Okay, how do we reduce our gaps, and then how we can promote this kind of mobility to the people to be adopted with kind of little level up the compliance level to the people. So what is your suggestion? And according to your the experience in the European countries and the policy and technology to be adopted, the many cities in Europe. Okay, what is your suggestion?
Yeah. So if I understood, the question is that what type of techniques or tools we can use to kind of increase or to scale up the adoption of the new technologies and the services that are offered, the smart mobility services to the citizens, right? Okay. So the idea, one of the concepts for understanding is that in Europe is looking up at the key value indicators for the citizens, because there was the situations in Europe that happened as well when introduction of the shared mobility services or like micro-mobility services that are provided in the cities, or if it's a provision of different shared services with a car as well, it has produced also induced demand. So this is the one of the aspects that it was not, there was a kind of service that produced more trips actually than it was before there. So this has to be also very carefully handled when the services are offered, whether we motivate people to make more trips then, and then we have a new challenge on the road network. So this is why the concept, we call it like user-centric mobility as a service design. So if we think of from the integration of different shared mobility services, it has a huge challenge of the data design framework to and who owns the data, who owns the service, who provides the information on the available services, etc. So there is a whole layer on the data governance challenge to enable those shared mobility services to be adopted and shared to the citizens. But again, it is design of the service, of the concept for the citizen itself. So user-centric it's kind of the users are the center of the whole area of the mobility as a service integration. For example, it would be how you design the optimal functions, come up with the route choice advice to the citizen, specifically in reducing the green footprint, for example, or in reduction or incentivizing to use specific mode of the transport, and then or changing your specific hubs, etc. So there are these different incentives policies also, where the citizens using the specific app and as a mobility as a service, they can collect different points and then exchange for instead of using the card, they use this existing services, and they can benefit and use those points to make some kind of discounts or to enable some of the to go to the cinema, or for example, you enjoy some of the services that improve their quality of life.
Right.
This is one of the first impressions. However, the user-centric really system requires in understanding what are the key value indicators for the users.
Okay.
So what is their endpoint? So do they like to make the long trips? Are those trips comfortable for them? Is it the punctuality of the trip and reliability of the transport service the only issue, or is it the feeling of the safety on that trip? So there are these type of different key value indicators for the users itself that has to be solved. And also what we have recognized in Europe, also through different trials, that very often service was not matching ideally the needs of the users itself. So what type of service we use to resolve what type of the trip problem? Or if there are users, I want users to have less private car. Okay, what type of set of policies and shared services we are offering to them? We have specific user category, that is the older people. What type of service we design for them, etc. So it goes always now from the user-centric point, and then we match and see how to reach that target that we want for them. Specifically, and to their key value indicators that are relevant for those targeted groups.
Wow,
so
good.
This is a type of design of the services now. Before, the services were like, this is the learning and the output from the trials that we have so far.
Yes, very, very important point you figure out and you address that user-centric. If you know, we trying to have the transportation planning, the process from the early generation of trip, and then also we have to make the route choice and mode choices. Our measure still, the conventional measure is time and cost. But as you mentioned that if we make some kind of green or eco measure to be adopted, okay, there will be the upgrade our transportation model, okay, as user centric, right? This is very good. The great point you address. Thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Andrew.
Yes, Dr. Moon.
Okay, so what is your suggestion? Based on your Australia or Sydney, city of Sydney or whole Australian countries that, as you know, Tamara mentioned about it. Our conventional measure of transportation planning, including route choice and mode choice, and trip, the management was just like that, and then in case in Australia trying to take a new measure, how you green, how you eco in your the daily the mobility life, and then in case what kind of suggestion in case we're gonna build a more the high level or the compliance level in our smart city.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, if we were to try to do something in Sydney, are you saying what would be an important measure, an important factor? We have a very car-based society in Australia, in Sydney and most parts of Australia. and we're trying very hard to bring in things like on-demand transport services, integrated transport, promoting public transport usage, making public transport and different transport modes more integrated, both in terms of timing and in terms of integrated fare solutions and payment solutions and all these sorts of things. I'm not quite sure what the most important thing is to achieve. I think in a society like ours, it's really a incremental change type thing. And we've been making some good progress in some areas in recent years, but the impact of COVID really stepped us back a little bit because people started becoming nervous about sharing modes of transport and things like that. So that kind of set things back a little bit, but we are moving forward. We've got so you talked about personal mobility devices in your Sejong plan. Now that's something that's generally considered to be a really important part of a smart city, but we have issues in some of our jurisdictions where they will not allow these things like shared scooters and things like that. So there's a number of policy areas and regulation areas that we really need to tackle in Australia before we can find that ideal solution for a combined services. Another area that we have a big issue with here, and it's probably similar all around the world, or in many parts of the world anyway, is in the first and last mile service provision, which kind of makes people jump in their cars far more than they should. Because, hey, I live 1.5 kilometres from the train station, it's raining today, or it's a bit too hot, I couldn't be bothered walking to the station, I'll get in my car. And you don't just get in the car to go to the station, you get in the car and you drive the whole way, causing congestion and all sorts of stuff on the road. So really need to solve that first and last mile problem in a way that's user friendly and meets the key value indicators that we talked about previously, so that people will actually use it. And that's where one of the areas that I strongly promote is around the automated shuttle service, because I really see that as an answer in many parts of the world to that first and last and only mile travel service for people who cannot easily do that themselves, or maybe are carrying a heavy bag, or they just don't feel like walking that day. And so to me, that's one of the most important things. Sure. And we talked previously about key value indicators and providing solutions for different types of people, but I think even for different types of people, they need to have multiple choices, because they can't say, look, just because I'm such and such, I'm pigeonholed into doing, I have to do this. You need to give them multiple choices so that they feel that they have a choice of what they propose to do. Sure. I'm not sure if that answered your question, Dr. Moon.
It is.
Was there something else?
Yeah, it is a good answer. It's definitely. And then, as you are indicating that the car-oriented society, the first service will be in case automated shuttle to connect some of the major stream of the public the transit to the living area. In case, right, there will be some of the people's so trying to change their the kind of mobility pattern in a urban area. That's good point. So that's why we have the similar the target in Seoul or Sejong City that promotes this kind of a shuttle. to connect the last or first mile services. Okay, so thank you so much, Andrew. And
Thank you. Thank you.
My question to the 김재열 우리 매니저님 들리시죠?
예, 들립니다.
You can hear us, right?
그 토론을
Yes.
들어보셨고
So you've heard some discussion
우리나라
from
이런 스마트시티
various panel discussants. Korea's smart mobility probably have a similar elements from that of Japan. I'm curious, and in terms of Japanese culture, Korea's mobility service may be attractive to them, maybe not. Is there any services that they feel attractive to? And that's my question, because you work for Fujitsu, and I'm curious about what kind of models that we can target for Japanese market and Japanese people.
감사합니다.
Thank you for the question.
소개해드릴 기회를 주셔서 감사합니다.
It is my honor to introduce some Japanese
한국과 같은
cases.
상황으로 정부 차원에서
Like in Korea, from 2019, Japanese government have introduced various mobility policies, and they do have a mobility service project. And to induce various policies at the local level, there are various projects to introduce new mobility technologies, and especially caring for the elderly, and because they hardly ever use smartphones, so they have a hard time to use new mobility technology. To solve the problem, at the government level, they provide some subsidy to buy some smartphones for the elderly, and there are some training services for the elderly to get used to smartphone usage. And second, regarding business models, I want to introduce some cases, not just for Fujitsu, but from 2019, we have Japanese MOOCs, and then we do have some best practices, and the government started to provide a subsidy, maybe 30% or even 50% of the entire project cost.
지역교통 공창 모델 실증 실험 프로젝트라는 사업을 추진하고 있는데
And they introduced some pilot test at the local level
사업 계획에 대해서는
projects, and for the excellent projects, the government enhanced the volume of the subsidy, so to make sure that the companies get covered with the 30% of the project cost, and to invigorate
지역 커뮤니티 활성화를
local
위한 다면적인 효과를
economy.
검증할 수 있도록 크로스 섹터 효과를
They're
검증에
having
대한
some
지원 같은 것들이 이제
cross-sector
이루어지고 있는 상황입니다.
projects going on. Thank you. Okay.
국가가 지원하는
So you mentioned about 30% or even 50%. What kind of models can you introduce us? Like, what kind of model attracts the government to provide more subsidy?
사업에 대한 제한은 이제 지자체가 꼭 들어가 있어야
Usually,
되고요. 나머지 이제
projects
사업비에
should be
대해서는
led
이제
by local
지자체가
governments, and
보조를 하면서 이제 민간
local
기업
governments
업체에서도 이제
should be
자발적인
able to
이제
provide
투자를
some
유도하고 있는
amount of the project cost. That's how the central government decided to pay more.
그런 겁니까?
So what kind of services?
DRT를
DRT is a good
일본에서는
example.
AI 온디맨드
It's AI
교통이라는
on-demand
사업을 통해 가지고
transport
지금 작년부터
as
이제
a Japanese name,
교통
and
사업자가
last
이제
year
지원하는 경우는 3분의 1, 지자체가 이제 지원하는 경우는 2분의 1 지원을
50% of the project cost was provided by the government.
그 내용 주셔서 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much. It was very good examples. And now I want to finally move to Dr. Son from Jeju Research Institute. Jeju is an island. We have a limited populations, and we have about 650,000 people, I believe. But still, it's a limited area as an island. And then we have a very high penetration rate of a vehicle here. I think there's over 400,000 cars for 650,000 people, so it's a very high penetration rate. And in Jeju, if you drive around, you can imagine it's also passenger car-based city. It's probably because there's a slight lack of public transportation, but then to transfer to mobility and smart city, and probably Jeju can receive the most benefits. And if that's the case, mobility services provided by smart cities may be highly utilized in Jeju, and what kind of mobility services can provide the most benefits for the citizens, and to do so, what kind of support needs? I would like to hear from you, Mr. Son. So most beneficial elements, I'm not sure, but I'm actually waiting for the answer. At the end of the day, we first have to survive from the market, and we're waiting until all the competitors like fight each other and take the winner. And what kind of policies do we need? That's a very big and high-level question. So I want to add some opinions. First, we need a policy that encourage new policies. Second, well, it's also important to have a relationship with the previous project leaders, but now we need to find some newcomers in the market, and we need to pave the ground for the level playing field. And here we need some kind of policy to fairly judge these competitors in the market. And here we need some participation from private sectors. But to do so, we have to think of some market values. So even if some survivals remain in the market, they might not be interested in going to the smaller market. So in the public sector, they can still go into the public sector, but let's say they spend 10 cents for Jeju locals, but then they should be able to provide the same. Let's say the private companies can provide the same services with the same amount of money, whether it's a private sector of the market or the public sector of the market. So I believe there's some policy required. And I'm sure one of the reasons you invited me is to get to know what's happening in Jeju. So I want to introduce some smart mobility examples of Jeju and smart city challenge projects in Jeju. And I want to summarize all these projects in Jeju. First, we have a smart city challenge project is going on in Jeju by the Ministry of Infrastructure and Land. And that's related to energy sectors. We have some gas stations in Jeju, and as we have more e-vehicles, they need to be changed into some kind of charging stations. And we wanted to create some energy hub around the existing gas station, soon to be changed as a charging station. So we can think of the taxi, bicycles, and maybe express bus and rental cars. All kinds of vehicles can visit these stations with the multi-functions. So this is like an energy linked, some sort of a station, and we have 7 to 8 multi-stations scheduled to be established in Jeju. And we have some innovative cities around the nation, but the problem is all these innovative cities are away from the existing downtown areas to encourage the independence of the cities, but they still need to travel 7 to 10 kilometers. For example, in Jeju, we have an innovative city in Seogwipo, and they are somehow isolated to grow their independence. Then we need some routes for people to travel, to commute through via taxi or bicycle, and that's under the part of the Living Lab project. And it's interesting to see the progress to help the people from innovative cities. And we can probably find the answer after we completed the Living Lab. Next, if you think of where we are right now, we have some autonomous traveling pilot test going on between here and the Jeju International Airport. And that is based on registered license. So these three big projects are going on in Jeju regarding autonomous and e-vehicles. And for tourists, we had some lack of a public transportation services because they want to go everywhere, every corner of the Jeju, and we still have some projects waiting, and it's at the bidding stage. And in terms of smart mobility, we can think of a wide range to cover of the e-mobility, and after the pilot program in Jeju, we can have a glimpse of the nation, entire nation. So to summarize, to induce new policies, yes, it's necessary. So any competitors are welcome to enter the rim or enter the market, and that's what we support. And second, once we create a venue to compete each other, one of my activities is that I develop some places with needs but need more supply. So for example, you climb up the mountains of Ahalla. It's a very famous mountain, but people can't find a taxi or a bus. But there are a lot of people going to the mountain, and maybe there are some projects companies who are interested in providing some mobility services near the area, and there are some needs, and then we can think of some negotiations with some entities who want to join the project to provide more public transportation around the area. So there's one thing that I want to do some tests for. For example, Jeju buses are run by the public funds. So even though some hours don't attract a lot of passengers, they still run the buses, and that it's a huge waste. So between 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Sunday, maybe as a concept of DRT, we can introduce that idea. Maybe 700 buses can go down to 300 buses. If you think of the efficiency, and we need an enormous simulation to decide what time we need more buses and what time we need less buses, but still we can expect some results of policy changes in terms of the mobility efficiency, and these are some ideas that I want to introduce. Okay, then.
Thank you very much, Dr. Son. So let me conclude this with questions. So all the panelists may answer very shortly. So in Sejong, DRT, demand response transit, is being provided. And when we started at 5-1, and when we expanded that, we have this opposition from the taxi industry, and actually they wanted to block. So it's actually a big opposition. So when it comes to smart mobility, it's a big conflict case. So what about the rest? We may have more conflicts in the future. So please be short, please be quick. What the government have to do in this case, what the government can do to solve this case. If you have anything to say, CEO Che, do you have anything? Oh, that was a very, very difficult question. And more than that, we have seen things like this before in Incheon City, for example, in the new town of Geomdan. Actually, the efficiency is not that high. So, if we think about what government have to do, we don't all talk the same things. It's all different. But if we think about how this service can make our lives bigger, then it should be a great common goal. So we have to think about that. So even if we have great technology, but we have to step down. When it comes to civil society, we have to step down because we're not ready yet. So it's not about policy. It's about how much the citizens are prepared. We have to have more time. If not, these will happen again and again. So Vice President Yu, I'll be very short. Back in 2004, there was the issue of bus to go public. And the free transfer was opposed by every taxi driver, every driver, but the Seoul city actually pushed that, and now we are having this bus with free transfers. But just like Mr. Son have said, so the bus company have these licenses, but they have too much idle time. But one round will just paying them. So taking off 30% would just do. So we can make that 30% demand-based. So that is something we can do, and we can also apply AI. And in other countries, they are doing this AI-based system because this is the public bus service. It was good when it started, but now it is blocking us to go one step further. So we have to do with this public bus system.
Okay, then Dr. Son. In the perspective of government, maybe stakeholders come to the rim and they can endlessly compete. And is that the answer? Is there any other solution in Jeju? What do you think? Personally, maybe the total volume of mobility in Jeju need to be quantitatively measured so that we decide whether the supply is enough to respond to demand. And that's something that I want to work with your organization in the future.
I'm going to ask you all of three the discussed from the worldwide, and 김재열 박사님. 요거 그 아까 온디맨드 그
Dr. Kim,
한다는데
you mentioned
정부는 어떤 역할을 하고 있어요? 거기서
governments on demand. How about you talked about local governments, but how about the central government? There should be some issues and conflicts and disputes with some taxi companies. For example, in Japan, AI on demand and DR is introduced, and especially local government is leading to discuss with some taxi companies, and that's what they are doing and trying to do right now.
Andrew, you still there, right?
Yeah, still there.
Okay, so as you indicating, in case of automated shuttle, maybe it's adapted on a last mile service on demand in case, okay? And because in Sejong City, we already have experience in a big conflict from, between conventional taxi, the company to the demand response transit, the oriented company, okay? So what is your way? What is your opinion to make the good solution to win and win strategy or some coexisting the business together?
Okay, just checking I understand what you're saying there. So if you have people who have the choice to take a autonomous shuttle service to another service, or and so change modes, or if there's a competition from a taxi service or something that will come and pick them up, is that what you're saying?
Sure. In case
how do you make people use the shared service? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If your city, adapt this kind of service, the business the conventional business, new business, have to be fighting each other. Okay, so what kind of solutions to make it? Okay.
Well, look, I guess it almost has to be a price thing to make it compelling enough for people to use socially responsible travel solutions over what could potentially be conceived to be a more convenient and desirable service. That's possibly the only path you can go down. I think unless there's other incentives, and this is why these shared services have to be done in a way that they provide a level of convenience that don't provide an incentive for people to say, look, I'll just get in the car or I'll just get a taxi all the way to my destination and these sorts of things. Or were you more talking about what happens to the taxi drivers and things when you move to these other services? Is that what you're talking about, Dr. Moon?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So because the taxi driver or taxi company, they have to argue to the city government, because they adapt to new the business, so taxi business will be their profit will be getting down. Okay. So
Okay. So I guess what we're finding here in Australia, and it's probably the same elsewhere, is that when we're running autonomous or automated shuttle service trials and pilot deployments, one of the most interested parties in these things are the providers of existing transport services, whether they are public transport operators or taxi companies and things like that, because they're trying to understand what these new vehicles mean for them. And the smart operators will be looking at these vehicles and working out what opportunities are there for them, rather than looking at the impact to their existing business model. So, and that's what we're finding with some operators here in Australia. They're embracing the new technologies. They're embracing the automated services and these sorts of things, the on-demand services and these types of things, and looking what it means for their current businesses and what opportunities there are for them. Because yes, some of these vehicles will not have a driver, but they will have other support. There'll be other roles involved, different skill sets, different employment opportunities for these different types of vehicles. So I think people have to not be blinkered by what their existing business models are and their existing businesses, and look for the opportunities in the new technologies and see where they should be improving their skill sets and creating those new roles and those new jobs in these new technologies.
I see. Okay. Good point. Tamara, last question given to you. Okay. Tamara, you there? Yeah. Okay. So just my example to be finalized on our discussion is that kind of new mobility service, including demand response transit (DRT), just like that.
Yeah.
Because in Korea we have the huge conflict between conventional business model to the new one. Okay, so
yes.
Is there any kind of similar the cases in Europe? What kind of solutions or resolutions you trying to make to be realized, or some kind of taking into consideration of the conflict?
Oh yeah. Okay, so I can give a reference here first. That within the Europe there was a platform or alliance established. It's called like a MAS Alliance or Mobility as a Service Alliance that is largely supported and connected to the ERTICO's activities, where we look up and recognize and learn from different trials that very strong definition of the business model and what it would be the future business model concept for the mass, how it will look like. Whether these scenarios for mobility for the business models are changing depending on the use cases that we are looking for or the problems of the cities, or you can really generalize them and formulate them in the concept in a way that you can implement that one in the city, like of the 2 million citizens, like we have it, or you can implement the city like London, right? So you deal with the cities of the 30 million citizens. So, or how to deal with a very small pilot areas. What we have noticed so far, a lot of pilots have been run, and it's easy to demonstrate in the neighborhoods that are not well urbanized or not super developed, right? But then on the other hand, for example, Rotterdam is a nice example where you can see mobility as a service platform, mass platform already operating and functioning and supporting the public transport. So the public transport is a backbone, and then the all other services that are designed and offered are connected to this type of the public transport service. Now, with this mass app, you can really choose and look up for the multiple different mobility options, and then you can connect to different the services that are offered in the city. Now, there is a very big challenge in the business model behind it, because there is not only the pricing, how you share the different integrating ticketing, etc., but there is also the licensing for specific services, the contracts that has to be signed and regulated between the parties that are involved. So, and who also operates the service, who kind of, where is the optimization angle of the service itself as well. So is this the government? Is this the local authority who specifies and says, these are the key performance indicators for us that we want to achieve? And then all the other regulations are going to the different stakeholders who should follow and commit to these rules. Where is the, we call it also the bit of the model that is called like arbitration model. So how different negotiations between the stakeholders and arbitration is handled and managed between them. So this is something I have to say that we don't have it mature yet. It is something that we are looking up, we are exploiting, and at the moment there is a very recent tender actually, the procurement published by the European Commission within the Horizon Europe program that is really looking up for the piloting of the different business models of the new shared mobility services, whether they go under the mobility as a service umbrella or not. But they want to exploit and they want really to focus on the business models. And then to see what would be the potential innovations in this aspect.
Sure. Okay, I see. I'm going to some visit the article soon. Okay, so the making some the very detailed collaboration in case or discussion in case we're gonna try to make it. Okay. All right.
Absolutely, that would be really great to host you here.
Yeah. 이제 제가 좀 정리 좀 하겠습니다. 오늘 이제 그 지금 결론적으로
Now it's time for me to wrap up, and I can't summarize all our discussion in one sentence. However, to realize a genuine smart city, we need to put our efforts together. Obviously, this will bring us the happy life and the great quality of life with a smart city. And we have various policies and technologies, but one thing we should not forget is that these models and technologies and policies need to adopt and review the conventional models of public transportation or some mobility services. Because there must be some reason that we kept that conventional system, and to gradually upgrade our mobility services with the various stakeholders. Yes, of course, there are some loss by some stakeholders, but to evolve, that's all for all stakeholders. We're not developing for a certain stakeholders. So Director Yu and Dr. Son also mentioned, yes, we had to go through some competition, but at the end of the day, we want to realize a harmony. And here, government needs some role to open the level playing field, and step by step, they can support some private sectors, stakeholders to move on to the ideal level of evolution in smart city. Yet we may not have the answer right now, but in the course of that, we can go through gradual stages as we all suggested and proposed, and that was a wonderful discussion, and thank you very much for your participation, and as well as the speakers, and Dr. Kim for MC.
The Andrew and Tamara and Kim Jae 박사님 to take your time to join in the 1.5 hour discussion. Thank you so much, and I look forward to looking you soon. Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Moon.
Thank you
Great
so
to
much.
speak to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Dr. Moon.
Yeah, I'm going to close the discussion. Thank you so much.
고맙습니다. 2시부터 시작한 제6회 전기차
So we started from 2 o'clock, and we are now closing the 6th International Forum on Electric and Automated Mobility.
마무리 발언은 우리
So we
오지아 원장님께서
actually, Dr. Wu was planned to give his closing remarks, but he had to left early. So I will close this session myself. So during the part 1, we talked about the automated vehicle policy, and in the second session, we talked about smart mobility and smart session. Of course, the smart mobility includes the automated mobility. It's a bigger picture. So, but until now, when it comes to transportation, it is not big enough to fill our demand. But in the future, we will have more and more technologies, and it will be viable as a service in the future. So this is why we talk smart mobility and automated driving together. So conflict with the existing companies, yes, we have seen that before. And in Korea, we had this Uber issue. Uber is not viable in Korea, but Uber is rather close to a taxi in Korea. So when it comes to Uber, the new kind of service, so this, when it comes to a personal driver can actually drive a taxi, that is Uber. So that kind of service, if that is viable when that comes viable in the society, we have to think about that, and we have to think about the competition. So when I was in OECD ITF in Paris, the taxi companies from the Paris airport to Paris, they actually blocked the road and burned their taxis. So they were against this policy. That was a policy failure. Actually, many tourists got involved in that as well because of the policy. So think about it. If a new mobility is coming, we have to think about the timing and the direction. That will help the direction of our technology, and we'll be available to give our citizens a better mobility. So again, more than timing, the direction is more important. So in that sense, when we do our 7th forum, we will be able to talk about more concrete measures, and we will have more concrete facts as well. So I really hope to do that in the future. Thank you very much for everyone with us today. So I will talk from the Korea Transport Institute. Thank you again, and I hope you have the rest of the expo, a good rest of the expos as well. Have a good night, and actually Jeju has a very good night, so enjoy the night in Jeju. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.